BJ Nix, are you here?
Present.
Present. Spoonie, Timothy Spoonie.
Present, sir.
Margaret and Mary. Do we have a Margaret and Mary?
Yes. Cool. And the margaritas.
Right. Class here. We're ready. Let's go.
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
This is the time to line up behind your team, to support your team. Have faith in that team.
You know, it's peaks and valleys. You know, it can't always be good. And as I always tell people, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. But when we do know about
house call, Trevon Diggs pick six. It's coming. They see it. Knocked away. Oh, Gregory! Hurts in trouble. 3 Cowboys wrap him up, make it 4. Micah Parsons is unblockable.
What is going on, Cowboys Nation? Shout out to the Pick Six family in the building. Y'all know the drill. It's Wednesday, and we here live with y'all, man. Ready to talk about everything encompassing about these Cowboys. Put this Packers game to bed a little bit. Talk about these Vikings on deck Sunday afternoon. Professor will be here shortly. Had to deal with some extracurricular practice stuff. Mary's got a work engagement. So for now, you just have to deal with me and my guy Spoonie. Spoonie's he was questionable for the show tonight. But we got he's got the right. What you got? Show me again what you got. You got the puffs over there. What you got over there? You got that tea? What you got? He's got there it is. Yeah. He's got everything he needs. He's got everything he needs.
A little plant. You mix it in a little bit sometimes.
Organic, sir. Organic, if you will. Organic, if you will. First and foremost, Spoon, outside of under the weather a little bit, my guy, how's your Wednesday been, man?
Listen, man. I think I was more hurt with Sunday's game than anything else. It was a repeat of the playoff game when me and you went. Thankfully, I was at home to not express my feelings about it out in the public. But it was that, good week. I'm ready for this team to get back into it, ready to talk some positive stuff about this team moving forward.
Yeah, man. Obviously, some history was made Sunday, Spoon. Some history was made, right? Yes. Cowboys, from their inception of 1960 to the year of our Lord 2022, were 195-0 with a 14-point lead heading to the fourth quarter. And after the overtime of what transpired, we are now 195-1, Spoon.
Yeah. It was funny, DJ, because when the commentators put that out there, I got scared. I'm like, why would they put that out there? We don't need that. And, well, we all know the results.
Yeah. I think I have a lot of thoughts. And for those that follow me on Twitter, y'all know we had the post-game space. I got beckoned to come back for a Monday space. I was on DMV show with Space and my guy Chris. yesterday. We ran the pre-show space. A lot of different things after this game from Cowboys Nation, obviously. And I have a lot of different thoughts. I've got a little bit more time to go through some of the tape and some ideas and whatnot that I look at and I see. But first and foremost, start here.
Okay.
The Cowboys roster, even with the deficiencies, right? Even with the deficiencies overall, is a better roster than a team that lost 5 straight and like scored 9 points against Detroit. That's where I'm at. You really can't tell me indifferent on that. Obviously, early on, we could tell maybe a little too much juice, not getting things rolling the right way. But then they settled in that third drive. And I tweeted, that third drive, they kind of settled in. Things got to cooking, whatnot. And again, you're all the way after being down 14-7. You score 21 straight to be up 28-14. And then the 4th and 7. And I knew then at the 4th, when the 4th and 7, it wasn't just the first down, they scored a touchdown. And I'm like, I tweeted it immediately. I was like, the Cowboys are going to need 3 points to win this game. I just knew it. Like, you could just feel it. We've seen these things happen with this team and what goes down. And I think very much so, something happened in this game that I haven't heard talked about enough, in my opinion. What we were told throughout training camp, preseason, hey, this team gets up by 2 scores, they can't run the ball no more. And this Cowboys pass rush, we know is really good. We understand that it's really good. And they said, oh, once you get about 2 scores, oh, boom, you just go get the quarterback, shut the door, caddy bar it, it's over. And the Cowboys did that. And the Packers said, that's cool, and we're still going to run the damn ball. And they ran it very efficiently, obviously, to the tune of 240, 50, whatever it was. That kind of cracks the psyche of what's been in that building, in my opinion, Spoon. Because if they're preaching that outward to all of us, that's what they believe in the epicenter there at the Star in Frisco of get about 2 scores, and then here we come. We can pin the ears, and it's a wrap. That's not what happened. And they lost behind that rationale. And I think what you've heard from Micah Parsons after the game, what you've heard from J-Ron Curse as well, it's a lot of rah-rah, and I think it hit them differently. And I think it matters because they gave up over 200 yards to the Bears, went on a bye week, and gave up even more rushing yards after being up by 2 scores and lost the game. So I think there's some soul searching within that locker room right now, especially defensively.
Oh yeah, and I tell you this: we all been part of a team of some sort in sports where you're gonna have that bad loss, and you're gonna come together. There's gonna be some accountability. It's gonna be finger pointing. It's all that mixed in one. It could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It's a great thing if with the leadership you have there, plus with the guys understanding what we need to do to hold each other up, get better, and move forward, and let's not repeat this. Mm-hmm. And then the bad thing is that if you got the ones with well, I'm the best player mentality, X, Y, and Z, I do my part, I don't care about your part, and those are the things that we can see from this team. We know there's a lot of talent on this team. But I'll say this, BJ, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the good part is that you're going to have a lot of guys like a Parson. He said what he said. You know, guys are not playing the gaps. He had accountability. You saw Dalton Schultz. And when you were able to have that, go to practice, have a good practice, you know, the result of it all is going to be shown this Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. How it all everybody felt about it, and it's needed. This is the time where you want it to happen, so that way, once you fix it, we move forward. We may not have to see the same mistake ever again. We could be the team who we want to be and reach the goals that we want to reach. And it's a great thing you point that out because nobody did talk to me. You heard like little bits and pieces about it, but it was some really hardcore conversations between the players for what it was said. I mean, in the press conference, they asked Mike McCarthy, what was somebody posted? What was that noise? What happened? And oh no, it was just a speaker. You know, that looked like just a speaker, but no, it was something more than that. There was, some anger in there. That's you need that because you want to see that response. You want to see, okay, how can we fix it moving forward? moving forward. That's how you know what type of team, how tight this team is, and how well they may play moving forward. So we're gonna see Sunday how this all responds.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this Minnesota game because I think this game is very pivotal for this season, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But I definitely think this is a fork in the road moment for the Cowboys, the 2022 Cowboys, and what's going to happen for them moving forward. But we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. Again, coming off the bye and having this, and I asked this question during the spaces we had these conversations. Like, is it personnel or is it scheme? Which one is it? Right? What's the problem here with the run game? And I think earlier, before I got a chance to really look at the tape, I felt it was personnel. Just little blips and different things I saw. I felt like it was personnel. I finally got to do some extra digging today. There's some things schematically that are a problem. There just are. And for all the conversation of communication issues with the wide receivers at times and the routes and what they need to be doing, there's some of those issues as well on the D line where you're seeing certain guys from the D tackle stunning and the edge isn't stunning, and some of the alignments are craters. Like there's nobody going to stop the guard from getting to the linebacker. So there's some other things other than just the personnel here that is causing them issues with the run defense that I don't think it's talked about enough either. I think it's very frustrating that we're 9 games in and we're having quote unquote issues communicating, whether at the wide receiver room position, whether we're talking about this defensive line and what's going on. And it kind of goes back to, we talked about this a lot last year, right? We talked about identity and who are you? And we kind of felt like maybe the Cowboys this year have kind of found an identity, which is cool. Then why is there so many communication issues? You've had training camp, you've had preseason. You're now 10 weeks into the season, 9 games played. And man, it just at times in this film, it's just not good. So I think I'm more concerned, and I was more concerned than a lot of people about the run game for the defense early on. I was very much concerned. After the Eagles game, I said, look, I was like, hey, this run defense. And then once the Eagles game came and went, I was like, no, fam, like, no, this is a problem. And it's just kind of ballooned since then. And the capper is, because we were up big on the Bears, they ran the ball well enough and got back in the game, but you took care of business. The problem here is after a bye, you had these same issues. And some of it's gap assignment. Some of it's also the lineup and the formation across the front, just like against the Bears. But the biggest thing to me, again, as we just talked about, was you got to what you ultimately want to do as a defense, or as a team, I should say. You got up 14 points. So you said, now we can just go get the quarterback. They won't run the ball anymore. We're in the fourth quarter. And they did it. And now it's out there, Spoon.
Yeah. Listen, it takes one team to do something different than what the other teams haven't done. And once you do it and everybody sees it's working, well, you know what? They did it. We have a better personnel to do it better than them. Let's try it over here. And we saw it from the Eagles game, we see it from the Bears game, and now we've seen it from the Packers. And then, you know, the crazy thing is that moving forward, we're playing some all-star running backs. We're playing Dalvin Cook up next. After him is Saquon Barkley. After him is Taylor from the Colts. After him is Derrick Henry. We're gonna see the Eagles one more time. We're gonna see Washington Robinson. He's back. You know, we're gonna see him. So you know, and understand this. We get into the playoffs. We're gonna see these guys again. You know what I'm saying? So they're gonna remember this. Until we fix it, we're gonna have to be a complete defense.
Right.
Do both. You know, after sack records from no. How about this? Let's bet on we don't allow 100-yard rusher. Let's bet on that. Instead of betting each other on sacks, it's something different now because this is affecting this team. And the thing is that wait a minute, it ain't like we have an offense that if it gets to that right there, then we can score at will. We can't. You know, and I tell everybody, y'all. BJ is one of the coolest people to call when you're doing that messed up mode. I called him Messiah. I called him. And I said, Messiah, I need your assistance. I'm about to blow up. He said, Spoon, he's down. And he said, Spoon, I'm going to ask you a question. I go, what's that, BJ? He says, did you see any separations? Separations from Gallup. No, we haven't. You know, and this is something that's been talked about before the season started. And he came out, we had a show, he said, you know what? How do we know Gallup going to be 100%? He's going to play. He's going to be clear to play, but is he going to be Michael Gallup? So we're seeing that right now. If you watch the Green Bay game, no separation, really. So again, the teams are starting to see that now. And, you know, BJ, we're going to have to really fix this on both sides of the ball moving forward, or we have any chance of any success in the playoffs. Before the playoffs, we were fortunate to have the Eagles lose their game to bring a little bit of life back into us, that we could say, okay, we take care of these couple of games, of course, some help from the other teams beating the NFC East teams, we may have a shot for this division. You know, and I get that everybody was celebrating to these laws. Again, like I told BJ's tweet, he's right. If we would have took care of business and the Eagles losing, we're knocking on that door for that division.
A little extra pressure.
You know, yeah. So, you know, we lost. This Minnesota game, you're right, is a fork in the road. This Minnesota game can really tell us about this team moving forward. And it's not going to be easy. The same way this team is mad about what happened Sunday, understand that this Minnesota team is mad about what we did to them last year in Minnesota. We beat them with Cooper Rush, a backup quarterback. And it's not like this is the same Minnesota team. This Minnesota team upgraded from last year. Have we upgraded offensively? No, we haven't. They came in there and got TJ Hawkinson. Let's get us the tight end. So now we got our all-pro receiver in Justin Jefferson. We got Thielen. He's not the same, but guess what? When you got some other guys, help him out. And you got the kid Osborne. We cannot sleep on this kid Osborne. This kid has played some good games, and with all the attention on Jefferson, it's gonna have these guys will have opportunities. But you know, it's a lot going on. But this game right here is a big game. It's a huge game. This game here can hurt us, or it can damn pump us the hell up to feel good that we beat an 8-1 team. Let's get back to this. Let's get back to business. The Giants are up next, so we're gonna see.
Well, Minnesota's up next.
I see Minnesota.
Yeah, you know, it's. Oh, I'm trying to. Definitely want to choose some of this verbiage in my words. You know, the right kind of way. And and I said this after the game that Zeke was missed. No, and there was Pollard. I get that. I look. Pollard had a great game. The thing was, Malik Davis had 5 carries. They didn't trust him enough. And look, in the 5 carries, he did fantastic in what he did. And actually did some pretty good pass pro as well. If you go back to the 2nd and 21, where Dak hits Schultz for 12 yards to set up an easier third down that they do convert.
Right.
Pass pro wise, Malik Davis was to the right of Dak, slid all the way to the left, caught the guy coming off the edge with a great block from deliver the pass. Right. But they didn't trust him enough at times to run the ball even more. You know, but 27 total carries, 22 from Pollard, 5 from Malik Davis. But I said you missed the Zeke effect there because he would have got more carries and maybe kind of limited some of these things and went through some stuff. I don't understand, like, when we're getting to the play action side of things. And I said this during the first half, tweeting whatever, first quarter. Right. I was like, man, give the Packers team credit. Give them credit because they were playing the play action pretty well. And the one thing throughout this year so far, whether it's been Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott, the play action pass has been nothing short of elite so far for us, right? And then I saw these weird things with the play action, a little bit of the bootleg. and you would have that tight end coming out. Well, it wasn't Schultz. It wasn't Ferguson. I'm like, what's going on with this 84 fella? Why is McEwen getting these routes coming out here and different things? And then I kind of get into the 11 personnel stuff and around no separation. Now, Tolbert, we can talk about Tolbert later, whatever. But if you go into the game before the bye, the Bears, a lot of 12, a lot of 13 personnel. Offense was humming. And not to say the offense didn't do its job, take the turnovers away. Okay. You put up 28 in 3 quarters, right? But you didn't get to the bag though. And that's the frustrating thing over the years when Kellen Moore's doing and dialing up and got the scheme and calling the plays week to week. We'll see things that work very well and then say, all right, we're not going to do that. And the reason why I'm saying this, their secondary, but your Alexander and guys, is probably their focal point. They just lost Rashawn Gary for the year on end, right? Why wouldn't you want to go bully ball some more with 12 and 13 personnel? And they just didn't get to it enough. And like this worked for you. You had the bye week to figure this thing out. Go dial up and look what Detroit did that worked well for them in the run game and whatnot. And I get it, 15-9, whatever. And it's just a completely different scenario than what they try to come out here and do. And then even more so that's puzzling for me is once Michael Gallup went down with the non-contact injury, obviously he came back and played. I don't think he was where he needed to be. Even more of a reason to get into maybe this 12 and 13 bag because look, Gallup isn't where he is now. He had a shout out to him not being injured because typically wide receiver running around non-contact Achilles, typically what it is. But fortunately, it wasn't that, and we just never got to that side. Now on the back end of that, well, Knicks, I mean, they scored 28. It's fair, they did, but then once it was time to get up out of there with the dub, you should have been in those packages, in my opinion. And I try to not do the hindsight 2020. I talked about it in real time during the game. It's just those things that gets maddening at times when it comes to Kellen Moore and what this team draws up and does here and there. So yeah, man, it's we had, and look, we covered everything. We went through the 7 stages of grief in in the spaces Sunday and Monday. Like we really kind of went around things and talked about it from all different perspectives. This is why I said this loss was worse to when we were in the building against San Francisco, because you had an opportunity here on a 3-6. Losing 5 straight Green Bay Packer team who just lost a very ugly game to the Lions, who at that time only had 2 wins, to go up there, shut the casket door, and walk through the other side. Little check mark. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, appreciate you, brother. Enjoy your off season. Go make your vacation plans. Walk through that door. It was time, it was that prove it moment for the Cowboys to say, we've arrived and we're here. And in the most ultimate Cowboys fashion, they showed they weren't. And the thing that hurts the most is the defense, who has done so well this year and we believe to turn the corner and be different, came back to remind us that, no, we're still the San Francisco Niners playoff game defense. Very deflating.
Yeah. I tell you this, BJ, it was worse than the 49ers loss because we felt that we should have won this game. I don't see anything where the Packers gave us a problem. This is probably Aaron Rodgers' best comfortable game ever. They didn't have to do much.
20 passes in.
That's it. Handoff. Okay, 4th and 4. I mean, 4th and 7. Do a touchdown. I mean, and it's all the time. Whether a team wants to look good against us, wearing a new uniform or a new rise in a player comes out against us. And these are the things that is unacceptable because a good team doesn't allow that. Now, I understand we come off the bye week, sometimes a little sluggish, X, Y, and Z. At the end of the day, this Green Bay team was not a tough team, in my opinion. that we had to fall like that. Now, let's just swap. If this is Minnesota coming up, there's no injuries, they are who they are, different story. This is the game, this is a team that the whole week, especially if you guys watch the networks, Cowboys should win this game. Cowboys should win this game. Cowboys should win this game. Come Monday, it's like we give them more material to talk about because we didn't handle our business, and that's the thing that's going around. That's the thing that's been on us for years. We don't take care of business, and we put ourselves in this hole, And again, coming up, 3 games and 3 teams we got to play in 12 days of football. That's not easy. In a perfect world, I know we all want to be 3-0 against Minnesota, the Giants, and the Colts. We'll be grateful to go 2 out of 3, win 2 out of the 3. But if I had to win 2 out of 3, my 2 out of 3 has to be Minnesota and the Giants. Because NFC games, we already got 3 L's against NFC. We don't want to get into a situation where we're tied. We lose a playoff spot because of a team that we lost to, who we never should have.
Yeah, man. It's now down the line. Let's say if Green Bay gets hot or whatever the case may be, you might have to come back to this game and look at it.
Yep.
But I just it's one of those games that you just get reminded. The more that things have changed, the more they've stayed the same. The more that the Cowboys are just the Cowboys at times, if you will. So. Again, for me personally, I think this was bar none a much bigger loss ultimately right now than what was against San Francisco in the playoffs. I got O's in the building. We had to take care of a little family business on the backside and handle some BI. Oh, how are we doing this Wednesday, good sir?
I'm doing well. Coming off of that loss, there's a lot of thoughts and stuff to come to mind. But personally, I'm doing well. Looking forward to Thanksgiving next week. It's crazy that we're already here. Holiday season, Christmas time, gifts coming in the mail already. My wife's been hitting up Amazon hard. I'm getting packages daily. Like, whoa, where did this come from? So, yeah, here we are. So my son, I talked about it on the Freestyle Friday show, little Felix made the All-Star team. They have the All-Star game this Saturday. And today was practice number 2 because Tuesday practice got rained out. So we had practice. I was running late, had to get the kids to bed. So I'm here now. Appreciate you guys holding it down without me. But yeah, the game, like you got what I caught at the end was the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that's basically what it is. I mean, we've talked repeatedly this year about not being able to stop the run. We talked about it last year, not being able to stop the run. We talked about it several playoff trips ago, not being able to stop the run. It's the same theme for us, which is frustrating. Penalties at inopportune times, turnovers. Like, if you look at our losses this year, let me ask you this, Nix. Which of the 3 losses that we've had so far did the Cowboys win time of possession?
0.
Which of the 3 losses so far did the Cowboys win the penalty battle?
0.
Which of the 3 losses this year did the Cowboys outrush the opponent?
0.
And which of the 3 losses did the Cowboys win the turnover battle?
0.
Yeah. We tied a couple times, but we haven't won the turnover battle in any of our losses.
Win it, yeah.
So for
I
the
paused. I was like,
thing,
wait. I was like, no,
that wasn't a trick.
Yeah.
So looking at some of the very basics of football, like you don't want to get more penalty yardage than your opponent. You want to hold the football. You want to be able to run the ball. You want to not turn the ball over more than you're able to take it away. Like basic stuff. And we're 3 losses. We haven't won any of those 4 things yet. Like that's frustrating. But here we are, 6-3, and the door is still cracked open thanks to the Washington Commanders. And we'll see how things go. And really the next 2 weeks, I know you guys probably talked about already, but this 3-game stretch doesn't define our season, but it kind of does. I mean,
look,
whatever happens, we still have a chance to make the playoffs and still could make a run. But these 3 games really are going to tell you who we are as the actual team.
Look, and I said this on the space, and I'll bring it over here. The Minnesota game is the most pivotal. Is very pivotal to the 22 Cowboys, in my opinion. It's pivotal. It's paramount. Even we'll get to that. Turner, I want to come here. And he
What's
said,
up, Rush? I haven't seen Rush in a long time, by the way.
Shout
Shout out
our
to
guy
him.
Rush. Yeah. He said, I'm telling a friend about the Green Bay game that it could possibly be our trap game. See, I don't think it's a trap game. See, I'm not buying the trap game because you're just better. Ultimately, roster on paper, and you're coming off a bye. You didn't handle business. And again, the things that we've seen it throughout this season. I pounded the table. Look, I talked about it a little bit leading up to the Eagles game. After the Eagles game, that's why I was out here begging for Roquan Smith in the streets, panhandling. Please, send the second and the fifth. I don't care. Go get Roquan Smith. I was banging the table for whatever. Once the Eagles game happened, look, it was a small kindling fire. Where we talk about Tampa, we talk about the first half against Washington, like different things were happening. Once the Eagles game happened, I'm like, it's an issue. And for them to give up over 200 yards against the Bears and go to a bye week to come out and do this on the other side, it's not a trap game. It's just who you are. That's how I feel about it. And the question that I was going to get to, which is a great shout out to Rush, he's actually teeing me up here. Great segue. We asked and talked about this in the spaces. We did it on DMV's show last night, and I simply asked the question, is it scheme or is it personnel? Let's start there. Oh, do you think it's scheme or do you think it's personnel?
Honestly, that's really hard to answer. And the only reason I'm saying that, I don't want to be the guy that, sits on the fence and straddles both sides. But when we've been gashed in the run game in the playoffs, last year obviously it was under DQ. Mm-hmm. But prior to that against the Rams, that was a different defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
it's kind of hard to say it's 100% scheme. But some of those players were on that team and some of those players were not on the team. If I had to answer, I would say schematics, I think, is the issue right now. And okay. I think a lot of it is because we stunt so much on the defensive line and we have a linebacker or two that aren't really holding their end of the bargain. And we haven't done a good job of setting the edge, whether that's the safeties, cornerbacks, linebackers, whoever's job it is to do that. We're not able to seal the edge, so teams are exposing us on the outside. And we have linebackers that are slow to react or run themselves out of the play because they take the wrong angle. So I think I'm going to go with scheme because I know that we have some personnel issues, and I think we could be a little bit more conservative. We've been so, I don't want to say aggressive rushing the passer because we don't blitz, but the way that we're generating pressure is by doing some of these fronts where you have multiple defensive ends on the field. So you're taking a little bit of that size away from the team, or you're stunting to get some of these open opportunities. And when you do that, you also expose yourself in the run game. So I feel like some of our efforts to rush the passer is backfiring because teams are like, we're just not going to worry about that. We'll just take you out of that and run the ball. So I think I'm going to go more scheme than personnel, even though personnel is an issue too.
Spoony, are you scheme or personnel?
For me, it's personnel. For me is that Stephen Jones, they do a great job with the draft, but you got to be balanced. You have to have guys ready to play when your starter goes down. We're relying too much on this draft picks too hard. There's reasons why they're 6th-round picks. There's reasons why they're 5th-round picks. When it comes to your first 3 picks of the draft, those are your main, your first and 2nd round mainly are the guys who's going to get either going to start or get some playing time during the season and eventually become starters. But for instance, Anthony Brown goes down, right? Jordan Lewis is not here. So your nickel, your outside corner is basically 2 guys who just not getting the amount of snaps during practice during the week to have a good game. Kelvin Joseph and Deron Bland. And those are the main reasons why. One of the reasons why Mike McCarthy elected to go for it on 4th down, because he didn't want to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands and pick on those corners. You understand? Trayvon Diggs was not getting picked on. Aaron Rodgers is a smart player. He knows what to do. So, for me, Stephen Jones has to be more balanced. Coming to the NFL, the draft, listen, we understand to build a team, it comes from the draft. But at the same time, if you don't get what you want from this draft, you got to be a little bit more aggressive in addressing the type of needs you need for the team. Like, for instance, you said it, BJ, Roquan Smith. If you see the issue, you don't leave it open and, I have to wait to see if my young player cracks down. We're already going on week 9. You should already know what you have. You already know what you have in practice. You understand? So there's a reason if a guy's not playing well, there's a reason why you're like, well, X, Y, and Z first, and Bill Cox. Why is he not here? Why is he not playing? If you understand that this guy's not ready or whatever, well, maybe you should go out there and get a role crossman because we're wasting time.
Right.
So
can I push back a little bit though on why I think it also is personnel? There were when I was watching film, 3 plays that I saw definitively, and there may have been more than that we had Trayvon Diggs covering Robert Tonyan. Why? Why would you have an all-pro caliber cornerback covering a mid-average tight end? It doesn't make any sense because if they are passing, you now have somebody who's a receiver. In this case, one of those plays was one of the Watson big gains. I don't think he scored on. Actually, he may have scored on it. But yeah, you have Diggs on the opposite side covering a tight end that you should have a linebacker or a curse on. Or they're going to run the ball that way because Diggs isn't. He's done better this year, but he's not great in run support. So now you have a big body tight end. He's just going to bulldoze him out of the way anyways. Like, there's no reason from a personnel standpoint. If you're DQ or Al Harris, you should immediately be screaming on the field. That can't happen. Like, you got to switch the matchup so that doesn't happen. So I hear you on personnel too, but that's crazy. That should never be the case. And I hope they saw that on film. I'm sure they did. And circle that and say, no matter what, we're not going to have you on a tight end. If there's a receiver on the field, we will flip you to the other side or do whatever we have to do because that's just a complete waste to have Diggs covering a tight end like that.
Right.
Yeah, and Spoonie, as you were talking about these late round picks and everything, I think at times in Cowboys Nation, we try to pump up these 4th, 5th, 6th round picks because it's all we got. It's still the draft. It's all we got. Here we are. The one thing I want to touch on that, and I'm going to give you my answer on the scheme and personnel, is that what happens for the Cowboys because of the draft. And look, I think, yes, they draft adequately, is what I'm going to say. They draft adequately because right now there's only 3 second-round picks on this team. And that's basically the last 3 drafts. That's it. Okay. But whenever you're not out in free agency, I'm not talking about the Cowboys going out here winning free agency, just building adequate NFL depth, if you will, then you don't have to rely on these guys. But when you don't, now your first 3 round picks better be home runs for the most part, whether they're starters or not. They better be big contributors, right? And we don't do that, and then we get behind the 8 ball because now, all right, Kelvin Joseph last year, 2nd round pick, hasn't walked through the door. You know what's bigger though in that draft though? You know what's bigger in that draft? Your 2 3rd round picks that wasn't active Sunday, which happens to be a cornerback in Nashawn Wright, and also happens to be Chauncey Golston, supposedly your best run stuffing defensive end, and you said, no, we're good because Basham's back. Okay, cool. So you're missing on these guys. When you miss on these guys, it causes you a problem because you're not doing anything outside of the drafts. Hey, don't care that we got rid of Cooper. Let me say that first and foremost. I don't like it, but I don't care. You should be able to fix it. It's cool. You want to move on for me? That's fine. Your answer was James Washington, who got hurt in the first week of training camp and never went outside the walls to go do anything. Then your 3rd round pick is lining up offsides in overtime. So your 3rd round pick, who's supposed to come in and help supplant and fix this wide receiver room, isn't there. So I don't really hear about how well they draft, because when you're missing on those guys and you have injuries or guys that are not showing up, these are the results of things that happen to you. And you say, as we were talking about the space earlier, I said big picture. This Green Bay thing, whatever just happened, it's been this way for a decade underneath Stephen Jones. You know why? Because this is how they handle the roster building standpoint of, we'll get rid of a guy. I don't care about getting rid of a guy. My problem always is, because people say, Nick, you're too attached. I'm like, no, I just know it's going to be a 3rd, 4th, or 5th round pick they're going to try to supplant it with and not get adequate replacements for whoever they let go.
Stop it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But to the personnel versus scheme, I was very much about the personnel, and a lot of it is the cornerbacks don't. Our corners, no disrespect. Look, I love Diggs. He ain't trying to set no edge. And look, and it's great because you can watch the tape and watch Jared Alexander on the other side, and he's a dog diving in on their run plays. He's coming.
Lions game, Okuda. Think about Okuda.
Oh, yeah,
You
Okuda.
felt his impact. You felt
Facts.
him.
I don't care AB was out there or not, whoever, man, they're not coming in and said they're just not going to do. That's a little bit of personnel to me and some different things. I got to watch some more tape today before that or after that. And not to be a fence rider, as O said earlier, there's some scheme things that are problems. Definitely. There's definitely some scheme issues in how their alignments are up front. And as much as we talk about the wide receivers and communication issues and what they're doing, it's happening on the defensive line too. Nobody talks about this, but we're watching guys, one defense tackle go with a stunt and nobody else stunts with him. Why is he doing that? There's miscommunication across the defensive line and things that are happening that's not being talked about because they're not wide receivers. So
we pulled up a clip of it, the Cowboys-Eagles game. They had Bohannon lined up as the zero technique, so his head up on the center.
Yep.
Then you had not Chauncey Colson, it was Dorrance Armstrong in a wide 9. He was way outside of the offensive tackle. Then you had LVE outside of him, and then Anthony Barr in the middle. So what they did was they ran right between that massive hole that was already there pre-snap and gained 9 yards to get into the red zone. Like, literally anybody who's ever watched football could hit pause on that play and be like, oh, they're going to run right up the middle.
Right.
Like, we just gave it to them, and they took it. And there was nothing we could do about it.
And there's no linebacker that can help you there.
No.
I don't care who it is. There's no linebacker that can help you there. No matter
the
where
guard
we are
went and picked up Barr, and then there was a
Yeah.
massive hole. That was it.
It's
The
over.
tackle just pushed Dorrance out because Dorrance was already lined up that far outside, and then LVE got washed up in it, and there was 9 easy yards.
Oh, and guess what? I saw that same thing happen to Michael Parsons at linebacker in this game. I was watching some tape.
Oh, it's
And
continued. Yeah.
And he's gotten drove. It doesn't matter if it's Barr or Michael Parsons, and wherever you think between those two players and who they are, that lineup in that scheme is not advantageous to these linebackers to be able to be effective.
Yep.
It's just not. So yeah, I definitely think there are some personnel issues because the one thing when it comes to DeMarcus Lawrence, and we've always on this channel talked about how great he is against the run. Be honest with you, I watched my man wasn't setting the edge well at all this game. Just is what it is. But a lot of it, I do, like I said, there's some miscommunications, things happening. The alignment is always just talking about. It's not good. And you went and got Hankins, and you have Bohanna. Just put him right there in the middle and protect your linebackers and figure it out. Simplify that thing a little bit. Even on the other side, though, the one thing about this run game against us than the Bears, tight formations from Green Bay, and boy, they were crackbacking. Oh, they were crackback blocking, and we didn't have an answer. And I thought going into the halftime, they would make the adjustments a la the Washington game. No adjustments. They're just not enough, I should say. I'm not going to say they didn't make any adjustments, but it wasn't enough. And I think to me, and I want to get your point of this, as me and Spoon have talked about this around the way, and I haven't had a chance to talk to you this. To me, and the reason why I think this is so much indifferent and worse for this team, especially right now, is simply that we were told from them, right, coming out here. So we know it's being preached in-house. Doesn't matter what's happening to the run game. You get up 2 scores, we get to unleash the dogs. They can't run the ball no more, and we're going to eat and kill. That's what we're going to do. And they did that. And they were up 2 scores, and they said, nope, we're going to keep running the ball, and you took the L. I think psychologically that breaks things. That's why we're hearing the talk from Micah. That's why we're hearing the J-Ron curse should be pissed off, looking in the mirror, blah, blah, blah. I think it hit him differently.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, how could it not, right? Like we've tried to stop the run week after week in tons of different fronts. We've had big nickel, we've had big dime, we've had loaded boxes, we've had base defense, and no matter what defense we've put out there, teams can run the ball on us. And it's demoralizing and frustrating when you're like, it's natural. You start looking at your teammate like, well, if you set the edge, I would have made the tackle. And then they're like, well, if you would have taken the right angle, I wouldn't have been washed out by this tight end. Like, you just kind of get frustrated and it just piles up. They can stop the run. We've seen them crack down on it at times. Like the Washington game's a great example. First half, We were exposed. Second half, they put the clamps on and things changed. We just don't see it consistently. And when teams are, they are dedicated to the run, and to your point, they say, we know that the pass rush is your bread and butter on defense. We're just not going to pass the ball because you can't show you can stop the run. So we're not going to play into your hands. And you see that happen all the time with teams like the 49ers, who have a physical defensive front, a really good front seven. When they get ahead, they can pin their ears back and let Joey Bosa do his thing. And now suddenly you're like, we have nowhere to go. The offense just shuts down. And the Steelers were like that for years. They had dynamic pass rushers and big zero techs or one techs that would just hog up the middle. And you're like, I can't run on them. I can't pass on them. Nothing's working. That's how teams feel on us when they have to pass late in the games, but that's not how they feel when they have to run on us. And we don't really seem to have an answer. And that's frustrating because early in the year, it seemed like we kind of figured things out and players moved differently and put a few different personnel packages out there. Recently, doesn't seem like they have an answer. And that's why I'm frustrated, because whether it's personnel or scheme, either way, it doesn't seem like the staff currently, and this is not a knock on DQ, he's a really good defensive coordinator, and I think George Edwards is a really good linebacker coach. I don't know that they have the right bodies out there linebacker-wise, and I don't know that they have an answer for the bodies they do have out there. For whatever reason, they don't trust Jabril Cox. We don't know why. I don't know if it took him longer to heal from his injury or mental lapses or what, but they don't trust him on the field. He's inactive week after week. Harper had some injuries, but he's mostly been inactive this year or just played special teams. Luke Gifford is a special teams only guy, so you really are kind of stuck with that very limited rotation of 3 linebackers or 4, depending on what they want to do with Parsons. And right now they seem, if you look at Parsons' snap count load last week, they seem to be trying to say, we don't want to keep rushing him at edge. He's kind of taken some of the physicality, he's taken his toll on him. Let's put him at linebacker to help us out, and that didn't help either. It's not a knock on Micah. It's just the truth. We couldn't stop the run, and he played like 47 snaps at linebacker last week, when he's usually been playing the opposite, where it's more as a pass rusher. So I hear people like Lawson said, we need Sue. I don't think Sue would hurt at this point. Definitely wouldn't. But I think linebacker is the biggest issue you have right now on this team, because LVE is his average depth of tackle is 8 yards downfield. If that sounds high, it is. That's where most cornerbacks and safeties average depth of tackle are. That's a major issue.
Right. And look, and even in this game too, now I will say some of that is because they're not protecting LVE, as we talked about earlier, in some of these alignments and whatnot. So it doesn't really matter if a guy's going to get right on him. But on the other side too, and we kind of saw this in the Green Bay game, they would get contact on the running back maybe 2-3 yards into it, and it would still go for another 2, 3, 4, 5 yards.
That was frustrating too, and I'm sure you guys kind of touched on it, but everybody knows A.J. Dillon is a powerful back. Aaron Jones is not he's not a huge back like that, but he packs a punch. He does run hard.
Yeah.
He's not easy to bring down. We hit them high so many times. I'm like, just go low. Like, you're taught that all the time. The low man wins in football. I'm not saying dive at his feet and ankle bite, but like, hit him in the thighs, hit him in the waist, hit him in the knees. Like, stop trying to hit him at shoulder length, because what happens is, if you do bring them down, they fall forward and gain an extra yard or two, or they just run through your arm tackle. That's what happened. And we saw multiple times. We saw Donovan Wilson. He's got to stop. He does not wrap up, and it's really frustrating. He goes for the big hit all the time. He's the missile. That's cool when it works, but a lot of times recently it's not working. He's missing too many tackles. We saw Malik Hooker do the same thing. Came in from the side on one of A.J. Dillon's runs and just bounced right off of him. He just kept going forward.
Yeah. No, it's true. Once again, coming off a bye week and how this thing played out, not optimal. I think, and we'll put a bow on it here. I know we got to get to these. We got some moves. We got some moves to talk about as well. We're going to get to that before we get to the Vikings. So some things happened roster-wise, if you will. It's just very frustrating to come off of a bye with the opportunity to walk through the door and say, what's the term they're using now? We're him, right? And the Cowboys said, actually, pause, we're not him. We're not. Yeah. Sorry. Nah, I know y'all thought we were, but is very frustrating. And the most frustrating thing about it is the fact of, I think there's blame in these games. It's funny because people want to cherry pick and pick who they want to blame. There's blame across the board here. And the one guy that we haven't given any blame or talks about, right? We talked about Kellen, right? We talked about Dak a little bit throughout the spaces and whatnot. this defense and what happened. Mike McCarthy. Sorry. And I'm a Mike McCarthy guy. But guess what? You're coming out 9 a.m. You're in the Barty jacket. You're rubbing the grass, the whole nine. Nice little spectacle, if you will. And early on in this game, you could just tell the team wasn't prepared enough. There was too much juice in the building. And it took them basically the first quarter to kind of settle in. Now, once they settled in, sure. Yeah, once they settled in, it was fine. And then when it was time to bring home the bacon there in the fourth quarter, specifically maybe the 4th and 7, we went for a touchdown. Specifically, didn't trust Malik Davis to run the ball enough in the fourth quarter because you felt like you used Pollard and Zeke wasn't available. It went left. And the biggest thing here from McCarthy, because he does have the ultimate veto about when these plays are coming into it, that sticks in my side is simply this. Earlier in the game, you had a 3rd and 6. You ran the ball. You got 5 yards, 5.5 yards. You knew you were going for it. That's why you ran it on 3rd down. Quarterback sneak got the first. You're in overtime. I get it. Lined up offsides, the holding call, whatever. But it's 3rd and 4. You knew you were going for it on 4th down. The pass is always there no matter what. You run the damn ball like you did earlier on 3rd. I don't care about the non-call on Lamb. Yes, we all know. We all absolutely know it should have been a penalty. Doesn't matter. It was bad play call. You should have ran the ball because you might have got the first. You might have got the first. But even if you didn't gain a damn yard, you still could have threw the ball on 4th down. It doesn't matter. You give yourself the percentages here to do it because you already look, and I know you know it because you did it earlier in the damn game. And you chose not to do it here. And it just frustrating on that point. So Mike McCarthy doesn't get out of here unscathed either. He has to take some blame in here as well, Spoon.
No, listen. Again, in my opinion, I think it wasn't prepared. It was a personal game for Mike McCarthy for how his departure was at Green Bay. It was bad. Article was written about him. Aaron Rodgers, they all pointing the finger at McCarthy. So I understand that this game was emotional. Him coming back here, but at the end of the day, this team wasn't prepared at all. And again, the boogeyman Aaron Rodgers came back. You resurrected him, and we lost the game. And it's like everything that we questioned during the off season or during the season, it showed in that game. The run, the receivers not separating. To Michael Gallup, he's coming back from an ACL injury. Some of the questionable play call by Kevin Moore. All of that was in one game, and it was embarrassing. This is why I understand why you led off by saying this game was worse. This L to the Green Bay Packers was worse than the 49er loss in the playoff, and I agree with you. This is why we were so emotional. But moving forward, we was fortunate that the Washington football team, Washington Commanders, beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But as you said on Twitter, BJ, had we took care of business with the Eagles losing,
it's much different.
We knocked on that door, and these are the things that go on and off, and it's frustrating that we still now talking about it. And with this front office is ridiculous. I wish that the panel, I wish that y'all could be invisible and be in the chat where it's me, myself, BJ, Professor, Miss Mary, and everybody else. Oh my God. I mean, the plans that, especially Professor O, the plans that come up with the things they can do, X, Y, and Z. This is why you will see us more frustrated because it's discussed before it actually happens. And it's like, when are we going to get it right? When are we going to get it right? And it's if we have time for a sermon later, I'm always
call that a tease in the business.
I'm always talking about, don't sell to the fans how good this 5th round pick is and this 6th round guy is, and we so lucky that we found him. No, sell us that this team is ready to rock and roll and move forward. We haven't been sold that. And it's still the same thing. Now, the title of this week is Fork in the Road. How do the Cowboys overcome the fork in the road? Minnesota, the Giants, and then we got the coach. That's 3 games in 12 days of football. That's not easy. We want to have a sweep. That's in the perfect world, 3-0. But let's see what happens.
Tim. I'll let you go ahead and wrap up. We'll move on here. Put the little bow there, I guess. Oh, Mike McCarthy, that is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I get the nostalgia. There was a lot of pageantry. He was excited and emotional. The players said, we want to go win this for Mike. I felt like it was too much personally, like dressing up as Vince Lombardi to go there and all that. Like it was a lot, to say the least. I don't think that's the reason we lost the game or anything like that.
No.
I would hate to say that they were unprepared because their coach wore a certain outfit or whatever. But the team, there was some conversation last week from fans and the media on, is this team focused on this game? Were they taking the Packers too lightly? We spent all week long answering every question possible about Mike McCarthy's return trip to Green Bay and how it's going to be important to him and got to win for coach and talking about OBJ nonstop. Very little talk on Packers, what we got to do to stop the Packers. Obviously, the team does that, but like it seemed like when they're asked questions, there was definitely some distraction and maybe not being as focused as they needed to be. And I think that the team maybe took the Packers a little bit lightly, looking at, they're coming off 5 straight losses. Look at some of the teams that they lost to. They look incompetent. They're not scoring points. Not the same team. Christian Watson can't get anything going, and then he scores and gets some confidence, and then suddenly it's like, oh, shit. they came to play. And then some of that, it's the same thing that we've seen before. Like when we play Green Bay and looks like we have them beat. Feel like we got them on the ropes. Aaron Rodgers does Aaron Rodgers things, or a lucky break happens, or we get a costly penalty. Like we just make the same mistakes repeatedly against them. And I think as that stuff happens, the snowball starts piling up. And then before you know it, it's too late. Like we're up by 2 touchdowns and everybody said, we went too pass heavy. It's not really accurate because after we scored to go up by 2, the Packers drove downfield to score. So now they're only up by 1. I see Jayla. Shout out producer Jay over there. What's up, Jayla? We see you. You're not sneaking. We see you. Unless you can't hear you. But anyways, it's just a lot. Like we should have won that game. There's very little excuse for going to Lambeau and not winning the game. We're playing a team that were just littered with injuries on the injury report. We played a team that was just waiting. They were going to come out and give us their best shot possible. And then we're just waiting to get punched in the face and say, we tried. We did everything we could. But we didn't put them away. We kept letting them stay in the game. And they started believing like, hey, we can do this. Let's fight for it. And they won the game. So it's frustrating. I do blame Mike McCarthy. I blame Kellen Moore. I blame DQ and obviously the players themselves. But I do think if I had to say who lost us the game, the players or the coaches, I would say the coaches more than the players last week.
10-4. But that being said, we put that we're as I said, closing the casket on the Packers, the Cowboys had. We're going to close the casket on that game. How about that? All right, that game's out of here instead. Officially, we're flushing it. We're out. The Cowboys made a couple of moves roster-wise this week. Roster-wise. Added a couple of names that folks might be familiar with. Right? Wide receiver, Mr. Callaway, University of Florida. And interesting enough about him, he's had some big games in the NFL, by the way. He's had some huge games. Now he's had some other issues, not field related. So they bring him in. First and foremost, let's just pin right there. We'll start there and spin the block. Bringing in Callaway. How's you look at this roster and what's going on wide receiver wise in general? He's signed to the practice squad. Where you at here? Is there some impact to be had at certain points from him, or where do you feel about this Callaway coming into the practice squad?
I think it's more so just for protection at this standpoint because Noah Brown's had foot injuries that can be scary for wide receivers. We have James Washington that they haven't started his window yet, so we don't know when he'll be back. Obviously, OBJ is the name floating out there, and we don't know if he's going to sign with us or not. That remains to be seen. We'll forget about that for now. This wide receiver room, we know that Sidney's injured right now. He's on IR, but when he does play, he hasn't proven that he could be a viable 3 or 4 yet. Maybe he becomes it, but as of right now, we don't know about that. We have Dennis Houston on the practice squad, and we gave him his cup of coffee in the NFL and didn't see enough there. And we have Jalen Tolbert that we now know we probably just can't trust. He's just not ready yet. Maybe next year he will be, but right now.
The ref told him to line up offsides. The ref told him, he said.
Yeah, the ref told him, yeah. So you look at the wide receiver room, we need depth. It is worth pointing out when Stephen Jones was asked about potentially signing him or guys like that, he said, we're looking to add guys to our practice squad. There's only one player that we covet or put in the same realm as that, and that means OBJ. So in other words, I'm just saying Callaway does not stop us from going after OBJ. It's you need wide receiver depth. You don't have wide receiver depth right now. See what he has. So do I think he makes a big impact? Probably not, but would I rather have him out there versus Jalen Tolbert at this point? Yeah, for sure. So if he can be your wide receiver 4 or 5 for the rest of the year or contribute at all, that's more than what we've seen from young Tolbert. So,
yeah. I mean, Spoony, can he be the Malik Turner from last year for us a little bit? Maybe give a little bit of something, maybe?
He's already our third best receiver, in my opinion.
I wouldn't go that
In the
far.
roster. I'm sorry to say. I'm sorry.
Spoon, talk to him.
I mean, no disrespect to Noah Brown, these guys. He's already the third best receiver on this team. After Slam and Gallup.
Oh, you buying that? Oh, you buying the third best receiver right
I'm
now?
not buying that.
I'm
Okay,
sorry. I'm just.
Let's go. It's spicy. Talk about it.
I want to
Spoon.
hear it though. Sell me on it. Maybe I will buy it. Maybe I'm just not
All right,
ready to buy it
listen.
until I hear you say it, Spoon.
He has experience, right? He has played some big games in the NFL. He has more of a resume than what we've seen from these other receivers outside of Lamb and Gallup. There's nothing there. Dennis Houston, preseason favorite. What happened? Disappeared. Turpin. Professors saying they put him in offense, some jet sweeps, things of that nature. We don't utilize him. Okay, Fiyoko, he's on the IR. Tolbert. Basically, talks about if we get OBJ, maybe IR Tolbert for the season for a redshirt year. So when I look at it, if we don't sign Callaway, we want to come out and say, well, which receiver needs more playing time outside of Gallup and Lamb? Who is it? And I think, Dwayne James Watson is not here. So we're talking about, okay, Gallup has ACL injuries, right? We're talking about who has ACL injuries. Okay, well, James Watson, he had a fractured foot. Just because he's ready to play, how well do we think he's going to catch on that fast? Don't even know. So the way I look at it right now is Callaway should get in there right now. If he can contribute right now, this minute, in my opinion, why sit him out for a practice squad situation where we're already struggling? The key words, Professor, before you got on, I was telling everybody that I thought BJ. I was pissed off. And, Messiah, I need assistance. My mind is all fucked up. What happened? I was pissed. He said, Spoon, let me ask you a question. How much separation did we see from these receivers? None. Aside from Lamb, Gallup is not right. And we're banging on the table for OBJ. And I'm going to keep it real. That's to me, it's a clown show. And we'll get to that later. It's a clown show. So the way I put it is Callaway, he's signed, he's healthy. If he's healthy, he has experience in the NFL. That's more than what we have in the wide receiver room. Put him in. Let's get him in. Let's see what he can provide for us. Because again, one more injury at the receiver position, we are done. We are done. And it's sad, Stephen Jones. This is your fault.
Well, and
he just doesn't move the needle enough for me. Like I get the excitement on having him.
Oh, I'm not excited.
He had potential coming into the NFL. His rookie year was pretty good. He had like 500 yards or so, 4 or 5 touchdowns. But that was 2018. He hasn't done anything in the NFL. He hasn't even been in the NFL since 2020. But in 2019 and 2020, he had like 20 yards one year and 80 yards the other year. Like he hasn't done anything at all since his rookie year. So
he's had some issues.
Yeah, he's had issues, but even when he's played, he hasn't really been an impact player at all. He hasn't looked up to what you thought he would be looking at his 2018 rookie film. So
Right.
I don't. He just doesn't move the needle. Like, I'd be more excited with like a T.Y. Hilton type of signing or something like that than Antonio Callaway. But he's a practice squad guy. If he contributes anything at all, whether that's a call up or has any catches, again, that's still more impactful than what we've seen from Tolbert. So
I mean, here's the thing. Allow me to buy what Spoonie's saying real quick. Let me just for a second. Let me just buy it for a second. Let me buy it that he's the number 3 right now. What a colossal failure from this front office that 10 weeks into the season, 9 games played, that you just went out here and scooped up Callaway off the streets of your practice squad, and he's the 3rd best wide receiver on your team. Wow.
Listen, it's hard. I understand it's not a favorable statement.
No, I got you. No, I'm saying I'm buying. I'm just like, dear God.
As I always said, as I said before, we let Marty
should have taught him
Cooper
instead of
walk.
James Washington early on.
Look, we let Marty Cooper walk, right? We never replaced Marty Cooper, but we replaced Cedric Wilson with Noah Brown. Noah Brown is his first couple of games of the season. Oh, Noah Brown stepping up, X, Y, and Z. Disappeared. Now he's injured, of course. So okay, now we put Fiocco on the IR. Jalen Tolbert, they don't want to play. So in reality, now
I think they want to play him. He just can't line up. Amongst other things.
So and again, if he can now, if you can't follow your, and these are things that you don't need a coach on. It's like Shannon Sharp said, wide receivers know this. These are certainly things that they should already know. So again, what other options do we have outside of Lamb and then Gallup? And Gallup is not even the same yet. Remember, and last week when he stumbled, I know everybody paused like, "Oh my God, what happened?" Now just imagine if it was.
I thought it was Achilles, non-contact. I thought it was Achilles out the gate. I was like, "Oh shit, we're in trouble." Thank God he came back.
Where's that? We have no depth at that position. So I look at Callaway, healthy. Okay, yeah, he has experience. PO is correct. He hasn't been playing, but he has the experience. James Washington, I don't know. Listen, that 21-day window crap. Listen, they could have did it a couple of weeks ago. They're saying that the 3 games, the 3 games in 12 days. There's no practice time. Listen, end of the day, I know they're waiting on OBJ situation, and in my opinion, if they get OBJ here. Well, James Washington, we do a little settlement, injury settlement, and you out the door. That's the way I look at it. But again,
we have to be honest though. Like Cowboys Nation, we have to be honest though. We have to be honest though. OBJ's a name.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
We don't know what he's going to do.
That's it right now because he got hurt after Gallup.
Yeah.
And he's tore his ACL twice.
Yeah.
We don't know what he's going to be when he gets on the field. It's a lot of hoping if he lands here, he's going to walk through that door. But we don't really know. But now we're painted to a corner, and here we are. But
that's one thing I will buy to Spoonie's point and what you're saying too, Nix, is if he's a separation guy. I mean, he was like a 4.41 guy, and he looks faster than that on film. He can move, or at least he could. I'm assuming he still can if they sign him. But you have Noah Brown, who's able to go make plays. He'll climb the ladder and make some impressive catches, but he's not a separation guy. Michael Gallup, while rehabbing and still not 100%, is not a separation guy. Semi's not a separation guy. Tolbert, they don't trust to even play, so it doesn't matter if he's a separation guy or not. You don't have any separation guys. So if Callaway can do that, I think that's what they were hoping James Washington would be, then sure. For being a practice squad signing, it's a super low risk move. If he pans out at all, great.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it aching to me the Malik Turner. Can he kind of come in and do that? That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to Callaway. And
they could just get Malik Turner though, right? For like a $1.4 million or whatever it was that the Niners gave him.
Right. So I mean, if he could just be anything in that realm or more, you feel pretty good about it. Right. But to put a capper, Cowboys could have just kept Cedric Wilson and been okay here. But that's a different conversation for a different day. We did add somebody else to the roster, a little bit more renowned guy that you might know that the Cowboys coveted when he was coming down the draft. He ended up as a first-round pick in Atlanta whenever Dan Quinn happened to be the head coach there. One Takk McKinley. very interesting. He had his time out there with the Falcons. Some injury stuff there with the Falcons, too, for being honest. But overall, we know what happened there. Ended up over here on the Rams practice squad. Now he lands himself on the Cowboys practice squad. Oh, tag to this practice squad to you says what?
It says why? Like why? I don't get it. I don't like I get, it never hurts to have, you can't have too many edge rushers, but like, where is he going to play? Where? Like, I'd rather have Micah Parsons at edge over him. I'd rather have Tank at edge over him. I'd rather have Dorrance Armstrong at edge over him. I'd rather have Dante Fowler over him. I'd rather have Sam Williams over him. So where is the role for him? Like, if not Chauncey Golston's roles or snaps, or Basham, who they like more than Golston apparently last week. So I don't understand where he's going to contribute. From a name standpoint, it's fun, and you can speculate maybe DQ has something in mind because he's coached him and kind of knows what he can do. But he's a guy that when he was in the Falcons, had injury issues, shoulder injury issues specifically were lingering and continued to happen. Then he went to the Browns, and I don't know what happened there, and then was on the Rams practice squad. Like, he's a name, and again, I look at it the same way. He's a practice squad signing. He's not on the 53-man roster. If he's called up a few times and contributes a little bit, cool. I don't really have expectations for him. I'd say it's an interesting signing because of his name and the DQ connection. But aside from that, I'm just at why. Where is he going to fit?
Spoony?
I mean, P.O. said it. Another pass rusher. The only bright side about it is that he's familiar with Dan Quinn. If there is a role for him on this defense, I'm pretty sure he can adapt quickly because he's familiar with Dan Quinn. The familiarity is cool and all, but what is he really going to do for us? And that's going to be the question moving forward. And hopefully we'll see. Hopefully he's one of the pieces that Dan Quinn talked about earlier this week about stopping the run. We have the guys here who can do it. We're going to adjust, all the things he was saying. So I'm hoping that he was brought in just because of that. But now if he's brought in just because of that, who's now going to lose some of that playing time? It's a lot to take in. We just got to see moving forward how this is going to be.
Yeah. I'll be honest with y'all. This makes zero fucking sense to me. Zero. You just got look. You just got Basham back. And then he went and got tagged. Are we hurting at edge, guys? Are we short on edges? I'm trying to. Look. Are we lackluster? No, I don't want to say lackluster. Are we just lacking depth at edges? You've been better off bringing a damn cornerback in here. Like, what are we talking about? Like, cool. All right, you're gonna bring. So, the only thing to me that signifies this is Mike about to go back to linebacker full time? Because then you need another guy there. Then you would need another guy.
I thought that's what Basham was supposed to be, though. I thought that was the whole reason.
I don't know. We can't get Chauncey Golston on the damn field.
Right.
Are active.
Can we talk about that real quick too?
Sure.
We have not talked about this in our chat. I have no idea.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Adrian. Look, obviously, I don't remember off the top what they gave up for him.
It was a 3 and a 6.
3 and a 6. I knew it was a 3 and something. But here's the thing: he never would have got traded in the division. So, like, that was never going to happen here for Dallas. But a 3 and a 6 is what Tony went for. Go ahead, O.
All right. So, while we're talking about edge rushers, whether Micah's playing edge or not, let's say he's back linebacker full time. In theory, I like Dorrance Armstrong, and I think he's been a really good player for us this year, especially for what they signed him. Like, he's a cap boy special that wasn't a big deal, $6.5 million a year or whatever, and he's been pretty good. He's gotten block punt for us. He's had 4 or 5 sacks. Like, he's been pretty good. I think it's time to start Sam Williams. I think it is. I figured you'd be on that, Knicks. When I'm watching it, whether it's the broadcast feed or when I watch all 22, I'm like, he just consistently jumps out. Let's just play him. His speed and strength. He played 5 tech at Ole Miss. He's used to doing that anyways. He's pretty good in the run. He's really good as a pass rusher, even though his moveset's limited because of his athleticism. Let's just start him opposite of Tank. That's what I think you should do at edge at this point, and then let Dorrance and Dante Fowler come off the bench and, take some of those pass rushing snaps and, lessen some of the workload. But I think you should start Sam Williams. I figured you're on board with that, Knicks. I just want to.
I've been waiting for this all my life.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this all season for O to come on and get on the
I'm
Slam
on board.
Williams
I'm on the
train.
Sam train. Put him on.
I've been pounding
Start
the
him.
table on the back chair. I've been pounding the tables on Twitter. I've been pounding. And I got on board with Sam, man. Let's go. Let's
He just
go.
can't. When you watch him in both the run game and pass rushing, he just looks too good not to be playing more snaps. So yeah. It's time.
Man,
I think that may help the run defense, getting some extra speed out there.
You know what, man? We can just end the show right now. I'm good. My heart is full. Hey, again, and
Right?
I talked about it. Look, and I talked about just in general when it came to Sam, and going back to what they did at Ole Miss, and the birdie in my ear during the draft, and when I got dropped on and everything else was just simply, you look at what he did there with the 3-man front and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to take some time to acclimate. And the thing that I pounded the table about for during training camp and whatever when it came to Sam was like, let him get acclimated. We saw this with Michael last year. If you look at his stats about 8-9 games in, and then we did the second half of the season, you just saw it, right? And I said, hey, look, Sam's coming. This second half of the season, I was saying this week, before we even got to week 1, I was saying this in the preseason. I was like, the second half of the season of Sam Williams, I'm not saying it's going to be the Micah effect, but there's going to be a jump there that's going to really help this front seven. I just think we're here now. We're just here, and I'm right there with you. It's time, because even now it went from okay a little bit here. Oh, he played a little. Here we're seeing now, even in limited snaps, it's easy to see. It's easy to see. There's a different gear that these guys don't have. So yeah,
the only reason not to, honestly, the only argument not to would be, well, he's gotten penalties. So is Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith has more penalties than everybody but 2 linemen in the league. Like, you play through it. You let him develop, because we think he looks right now like he could be a very good player. Just play through it. And some of the penalties, I'm like, I don't care. Take his head off. Get the 15-yard, whatever. Set the tone. Somebody needs to do it. Go ahead, Sam. Be that guy.
He is the most, no disrespect to Micah, there's nobody more physical than him in this front. Like when we talk about physicality, like the Niners or whatever, that's what Sam brings to the table. Period. And that's infectious, I think, at times across that lane. But back to the Tack McKinley talk here, Spoon. Tack's on board. He's here now. We have a Tack and a Tank. Tack and Tank. Tank and Tack. All right. Ticky Tack. Whatever. So Tank's here now. Where you at here bringing him in?
Nah, listen.
He doesn't want to talk about Tack. He wants to talk about Sam Williams. I could see it in his face.
Oh yeah,
I could see it in his eyes.
No. It's too late now.
Yeah, this is Sam. Sam should be starting. Professor hit on the note, and BJ correctly. It was against the Rams. After that Rams game when he went nuts, that was when you came out and said he has come. Put him in more. So yeah, listen, we all on the same board with Sam Williams. Listen, with Tack McKinley, again, it's gonna be it's a wait and see. I'm always great. I always love to bring
D-Law
in
did
more.
too, Bruce. D-Law did too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's always good to bring in more pieces. Just the thing is, like you guys said, where are we going to fit him at? What does this move do to Terrell Basham? And we have him here for a reason. We were talking about, he just came back from the injury. So what was the reason for that move? And it's just a wait and see, but I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I love the idea of starting Sam Williams already. You know, listen, he had a 3-minute interview today I caught on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And again, he's waiting for the plane. He came and asked him to go, you know, how are you feeling when you want to play? He goes, I'm ready to give it all that they asked me to do right now. Right. He's determined. And I mean, listen, if he gets the penalties, that's fine. It's called the learning curve. This is how you learn this game, by getting your feet wet. You have to. And at the end of the day, he has faced the double teams in college before. Listen, the Joneses were excited when they drafted him in the second round. Like, yo, we caught the steal. Listen.
The Jones knew, Nick said it, he was 100% right. The Jones knew as soon as pick 1 in round 1 went on the board, they already knew, we know who our guy is.
It was it.
That was their guy, which is it was a good pick. But yeah, it's time. So whatever happens attack, whether he contributes or not, it's time to either start significantly upping his snap count or starting him.
And I do think maybe to a certain extent, because we watched this with Odigizua last year, and out the gate, because of injuries, he had to play a lot, and we saw a lot from him. He kind of hit the rookie wall and kind of faded. Maybe some of that with them bringing Sam along slowly was to make sure he was ready for the second half stretch run and not get burnt out. So that could definitely be there. When it comes to tech in general, sure. Hey, look, hedge your bets for any injuries that could come up here, right? I don't expect a impact, even though former first round pick, we understand that with him and everything. I don't expect this to be an impact kind of signing, even though I see the right kind of ingredients that people think this might be when it comes to tech. I think this is them hedging their bets, regardless of, hey, he's here. We have the space. If we need another guy, he knows the system. And look, and there's the two things, right? Dan Quinn knows him. He drafted him, right? On the same side, we know as well the Cowboys were very high on him in that draft. Those things just line up. It's a low-cost move. Hello, Catboy. and here we are. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Chauncey Ghosts of the world and what's going on with Basham and all these different things. So I don't know where he's going to end up having an opportunity. One thing I'll buy is this. Back-to-back games, you couldn't stop the run. There's a body here now. Former first-round pick. Hey, who's and look, and they know just like we know, it's a Dan Quinn guy. Better do your job, or we'll bring him up and we can put you down. So I do think there is a message being sent more so than playing time for tech. I think a message was sent, bringing in on Love. Hey, this run defense has got to change, or else we have somebody in the wings who's a former first round pick. So Dorrance, are you a first round pick? Or Basham? I mean, name whoever. Are you a first round pick? All right, cool. If not, we'll put you up there. There's some pressure within the building, I think, in that. And Bruce, honestly, when it comes to stopping the run, Dan Quinn's defense there late when he was there wasn't really great at stopping the run, if we're being carte blanche. But it's a guy that they can bring up irregardless in the scheme right now. And I think that just matters more so than anything else, Bruce.
Well, and also, it's probably worth mentioning too, because last week we had to make the decision: do we want Chauncey Golston or Terrell Basham, because they're on the active 53? Him being a practice squad guy, he could be called up 3 times this year, so you can get an extra pass rusher on the roster. And saying, okay, well, we lost Golston or we lost Basham this week because we decided to go with the better edge rusher. We would decide to go with the better run defender. You have Tack, and if they feel like he can do a little bit of both, he could be one of your 53, well, not 53, but one of your game day elevations to get your roster to 55 without having to sacrifice one of those two guys if they think he can do a little bit of both, what both does. So it does make sense from that standpoint. If you look at the guys that we've called up, we've used up most of the call-up windows for a lot of the guys that, because you can only do it 3 times. So signing him now, and maybe Callaway, good example for him too. You don't have to inactive anybody because you can just add him as your game day elevation. So
yeah, so some roster manipulation here we're seeing for sure, and just like all the centers they brought in and worked out as well, right? Because Lipscomb only has one more call up. Am I right?
So
or is he out?
It's kind of funny with him. He actually is out of call ups now.
Okay,
but they also just put him on IR because he just got injured last week somehow. I don't know when that happened, but yeah, he's injured. So
hang now, pinky hang now. Got to go.
Bring nasty cough and put you on IR.
Hey, bring them puffs down again, Spoonie. Lindstrom had them puffs like you got right now, wiping the nose, and he cut his nose. There they are. Yeah, that's what happened. And Lindstrom. Lindstrom's out. Lindstrom's out. So once again, though, everybody due diligence here. Some rosters, some names that you might know, and kind of our idea of what's going to happen with them and back and forth. We do have a question I want to take real quick. Simply as this. Question for you all. Would you have tried the field goal in overtime in Green Bay? No, for me. Anybody else? Yes, no?
I'm okay with the call.
I think it was the right call. I mean, you can argue that we should have done something different on 3rd down, or even a different 4th down play. But whether it was not in our favor, it was 30 degrees or something like that at that point. He's trying to warm his foot up with a heater. The wind was really strong in that direction. As you noticed that Maher kicks touchbacks repeatedly all season, couldn't kick them out of the end zone. And then the kickoff before that almost went out of bounds. So it would have been a very difficult kick, and I don't think the kick would have mattered anyways because I don't think the Cowboys defense was going to be able to stop the Packers offense as we saw. So
yeah, what was it, a 56-yarder from where they were lined up at?
Yeah.
I think it was
54, 56,
yes,
somewhere between
somewhere
there.
in that range. But either way, that's a long field goal, especially
Long
30
field
degrees
goal,
temperature with wind.
less than 30 degrees. We saw the field and a lot of slipping and what was going on there, field conditions. No, my only problem is I think they knew on third down they were going for it on fourth down, and they should have ran the ball on third down. That's just where I'm at. But no, I was completely okay with them going for it. I did not want them to kick the field goal. Spoonie?
No, I'm with you. I and Professor as well. I don't think he trusted his defense. He protected his corners. He understood that you don't want to get to a situation where your back is at overtime where they need a touchdown, and the way Aaron Rodgers was connected with Watson having a field day, he don't take that chance. So maybe instead of passing it to Lamb, even though it was a pass in the front, maybe they could have just ran it. But at the end of the day, I agree with the call. Go for it. You have to beat Rodgers. You can't sit there and give him another shot. In a minute and 13 seconds left at overtime, I wouldn't have trusted.
Yeah, from a philosophy standpoint too, we can't pick and choose as fans. We can't complain when coaches are too conservative. Say you should be more aggressive, and then when they do make the aggressive call and it doesn't work, say, "Oh, you should have played it safe there." Like you got to kind of pick one. What do you want him to do? My overall feeling is I want my coaches to be as aggressive as possible. Like if it came down to it, honestly, if I was the Packers when they scored, I probably would have went for 2 for the game right then, not even gone to overtime. That's what I would have done if I was the Packers head coach.
Right.
I'd be like, hey, it's moving for us. They can't stop the run. I'm just going to run this in from 2 yards out. We're going to get the 2-point conversion and win by 1 in regulation. That's what I would have done. So overall, I'm cool with them. It wasn't like we decided to go for like a 4th and 11 or something,
right,
as opposed to kicking. Like it was a reasonable down and distance to go for it, in the weather and everything else added to it. It was the right call. It didn't work. It sucks, but it was the right call.
Yeah, because I mean, if you happen to miss that field goal, now they have better field position.
Yeah.
Yep.
And going for it, put them further behind the 8 ball to allow your defense to have a better opportunity if you don't convert. So, yeah, no, I think the panel here obviously says going for it was the right. We might be indifferent on the play call on third down versus fourth down, neither here nor there. But going for it, yes, absolutely, it was the right call.
Yeah.
All right. So we put Green Bay to bed finally. Man, it's been, forget the 7 stages of grief. I think we've done 7 shows from Spaces and shows I've been on here. Boom, it's done. All right, it's done. We got to the roster moves, obviously, and what we think about those. So let's go ahead and pivot. Let's put our eyes and set our sights here to Minnesota for us on the Central Time line. 3:25 p.m. Central Time. The 8-1 coming off of a crazy look. I don't know if anybody watched the Bills Vikings game. That game was absolutely drunk and insane. What a crazy game. They found a way to win. They are sitting at 8-1, a half a game back from the Eagles, because the Eagles did beat them. Same record for the number 1 seed. Where are y'all at here? I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about this game, so I'm gonna chill. And Spoonie, here we are. We're heading in here to the team that we did go on the road last year with our backup quarterback and win, right?
Right.
Okay. 6-3, 8-1. Where are we at here, Spoon?
I'm going to start off by saying that God forbid the Cowboys lose this game. I know the media.
What's time Spoon serving you? Don't go.
No. Okay. No sermon yet.
Okay. I thought, you guys going to start preaching.
But I already have this feeling already that if for some reason the Cowboys to lose, Well, Cooper Rush, he won last year there. Stupid stuff like that. Listen, at the end of the day, as this team, you held each other accountable in the locker room, right? You guys watch film. You guys are talking to each other about this is what we got to do. An L like that tells us what type of team we could be moving forward. So, with that being said, look at this Minnesota game, the 8-1. Anthony Ball, that's your former team. Javon Curse, that's your former team. Javon Curse came out and said that Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Well, Javon Curse, we have the best cornerback in the NFL. Okay, and Trayvon Diggs, who we need to get him ready for Jefferson as he did last year. But they still have other weapons out there. Hawkinson, Osborne, Thielen still, and those guys. This team has to be mentally ready and prepared. From the coaching staff onto the players. Kellen Moore, you need to be ready because this team can score. If this defense is not ready, they're going to score at will. Well, if the defense is having a bad game, we're going to need the offense to pick up the slack and do its part. This game is a hard game. This game could tell us what type of Cowboy team we're going to have moving forward. This could either make us or break us. Because 2 losses in a row, depending how we lose, if we do lose to Minnesota, which I don't think we'll say that for later, could really mentally put us down and out. And we don't need that going to Thursday night, 3 days later, playing the New York Giants, same division team who we beat at the Meadowlands. Now they get to come to our house, understanding, knowing that our back is against the wall, and feel good about it. Again, we lost a bad game against the Green Bay Packers. You have this week to go out there and try to correct the mistakes and not repeat the mistakes. Again, the running game it's been our issue. I'm not saying to go out there and let Dalvin hold Dalvin Cook to 50 yards rushing. But if you can hold them to maybe 105, not 200, 100, just 100 yards rushing, that's an improvement. The offense, you got to get it going. Listen, it's what you have to get it going. Utilize them tight ends, as Professor over kept on saying. Those 12 personnel, you got them tight ends. Utilize it. I don't know why Sean McKeon is out there for. We want to see Schultz, we want to see Ferguson, we want to see Henderson. Okay, utilize those guys, Kellen Moore. You have weapons. Be smart. I mean, if we lose this game, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
All right. Minnesota here on the road, 8-1, 6-3.
It's a weird matchup. It's a very intriguing matchup because you look at the records and you say both teams have done a good job. Vikings are 8-1. Their season is very bizarre. I don't want to.
Have they won a game outside of one possession yet?
No, all the games have been close,
Okay.
and all the games have had crazy endings with kickers doinking the uprights or just crazy stuff happening, like week after week after week. The Washington Commanders game, perfect example. Like they should have beaten the Vikings, but Ridgeway gets a penalty that lets the Vikings get another shot. They kick a field goal and win the game. They're just finding ways to win, which is impressive.
Hold on. Ridgeway forced that fumble, helped them beat
That's a
Philly.
different. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Vikings.
I know Ridgeway slander
We're talking
here.
about the Vikings right now, sir. What's going to be interesting is Kevin O'Connell, who I think is going to be a very good head coach in the NFL. His first year, he's been great so far. He comes from the McVay tree, and those guys don't love to run the football, even though they have Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, who are pretty good running backs. They're passing the ball 63% of the time. Their run percentage is 28th in the NFL. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this team who has all these receiving weapons, and I think that's a trap that young coordinators fall into. I just traded for this tight end. I have Justin Jefferson. I have Adam Thielen. We got to air the ball out. We have Kirk Cousins, who a lot of fans don't like Kirk Cousins, but if you look at what he does, he's a productive quarterback. He can put up big games. They tend to want to throw the ball, as we've seen with Kellen Moore, And they're kind of doing the same thing in Minnesota. So it'll be interesting to see if they abandon that, because the Packers also came into our game not running the ball as much as they should and said, F it, we're just going to run the ball. So I'm really curious to see if the Vikings actually take the blueprint that has been used on us 2 weeks in a row and implement that, or 2 games in a row, or if they stick to what they like to do and run their offense, because I think that's a disaster for them if they do that. Especially with Christian Darrisaw. Somebody in the chat asked if he's playing this week. It's looking like he's not going to play. That's the indication. That's a major loss. He's been a very good tackle for them this year. And we talked about him a lot last year heading into the draft coming out of Virginia Tech. He's a good prospect. So losing him would be a big blow for them. I'm just curious to see what offensive game plan they do, because my gut tells me that they are not going to follow the, at this point, tried and true method of beating the Cowboys and running the ball. I think they're going to pass the ball because that's what they do. And I think that may actually help us. Doesn't mean we'll win. I don't know. We'll talk about that stuff later. But that's kind of where my head goes at with this game is, do they break rank and do something different because they know that it works on us, or do they try to continue to run what's worked for them so far? And they're 8-1. So I think that's what route they're going to go, and I think that gives us some opportunities. Also, I want to shout out and say, not shout out, but put it out there. The Cowboys are 6-1 following the loss going back to last year. So we've been pretty good in our quote-unquote revenge or get-right game after a loss. I don't know if that will continue or not, but I have a feeling the Vikings are going to pass way more than what they should.
I would buy that, except a team in their division did the same thing. It was
Two teams in the division.
2 teams, I should say, even. If it was somebody outside of the division and it happened, maybe not so much, but we'll see. We'll see how they dial this thing up. I think very simply when we talk about the Minnesota game, it's this. It's literally it's a pivotal game for the Cowboys. Very pivotal. This is in my opinion, it's a fork in the road here on how the season's going to go. Just is. You win, this propels you. You lose, now you're 6-4, 4 losses in the division. Got to come back and play the 7-2 Giants in like 4 days. Very pivotal game for the Cowboys, who are licking some wounds, as we've heard from Micah Parsons and the curses and everybody talking about what happened in the Green Bay game. Just very pivotal. This ultimately right now makes or breaks this season for the Cowboys, because I think to a certain extent their idea of what they want to be defensively, it's not been shattered. It took a huge right hook though against Green Bay. The get up by 2 touchdowns, they can't run it no more, and we got you. And that stopped. It's out there now. Not blueprint like Denver, whatever. We can have that conversation later. I'm just talking about from that game. I don't even care about the Bears game, how much they rush for. It's fine. I don't care. I think the biggest thing is the Cowboys have told us ultimately from them out here, so we know it's in-house. We have the pass rushers. We get about 2 scores. You can't run the ball no more, and we're going to suffocate you. And the Packers said, no, we're going to continuously run the ball. So they're in different confidence-wise about what they want to do defensively, in my opinion. That's how I feel. So this is why this thing is very pivotal, because if they come out here and they lose, just saying that. I'm not saying they are or not. I'm just saying if. And it's in a vein of they do switch up, as you talked about earlier, and get out of character and do run the ball and take heed from what the Bears and the Packers did and go that route, and we take the L. I did the confidence, and it matters in football. It matters in sport. It matters very highly. I think the confidence got hurt last week against the Packers. And if they lose in that same kind of ilk, then the confidence is really going to be bad with a short couple of days before you play the Giants. And shout out to our guy Space, who we were running this, and we're talking about this in the pre-show space on Twitter, says 2016, if the Cowboys win before Thanksgiving, they win Thanksgiving. If they lose before Thanksgiving, they lose on Thanksgiving. Now, I get it. Different years, different things happen, but that's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 6 straight years so far. Win-win, lose-lose. And if the Cowboys were to drop this game in the Giants game, now you're 6-5 with 5 L's in the conference. Sun's getting low. Things are hitting differently. And back to Spoon's point earlier, that I think it is very. I didn't think about this before, but you brought it up because with what's happening, right? Cooper Rush came in last year and beat them on the road last year. Now it's a different coach, different year, whatever. But if the Cowboys go up here and drop the L, right? Well, but Cooper Rush, and he starts talking about how many he won this year versus what Dak's record is, and there's that different conundrum that's going to happen ultimately because it's the Cowboys and how things get covered and everything else and what goes on. So it's very interesting in that front, but I just think ultimately I think it's a make or break game for the Cowboys season. I just do. I'm not saying that this win would propel them to the almighty and they're going to go on a run and all that. But I think an L here absolutely sounds the alarm for the Cowboys season, y'all. That's where I'm at.
Totally agree.
Can I ask you guys a question? So coming after with some of the commentary that we've all shared with the way that we lost to the Packers, being very similar to the way that we lost to the 49ers and very similar to the way we lost to the Rams in the playoffs, does winning this game change how you feel now about the team drastically or not? Would you need to continue to see that for more than, because for me, it very much feels in character for the Cowboys to go win this game. It does. And then you feel good about the team again. And then maybe we beat the Giants, maybe we don't or whatever. And we feel good until we play a team like the Titans or somebody else who's like, we're just going to run the ball all over you and you're not going to do anything about it. So winning this game, yes, I would be happy we won, and it'll be good for our team and our playoff seeding and things like that, and maybe possibly getting a chance to win the division. But the way that I feel about the team now, like my new reality of what the Cowboys are, won't change even if we win this game. Now, that doesn't mean we can't still have a great season, but it's kind of sad that that's the conversation. I just wanted to ask, though. I don't think winning changes my overall feeling on the team because I need to see us consistently do that. What about you, Spoon?
Professor, we lose as we done. That's all I can really say. I don't. We beat the Giants. It's not the same Giants team coming in. They believe in Davos and what he's bringing to the table. He's done a great job, in my opinion, coach of the year right now. They buying in. They don't have the talent, in my opinion, that we have, but they buying in. They understand the problem that we have that the Giants don't is basically where they understand the identity. It's in control, while we still trying to figure things out. And that's my problem. They already know what type of team they are. They already know what they're going to do, X, Y, and Z. And my thing is, team like the Washington Commanders, they build their momentum. They understand what they're going to do. And, we still trying to figure out things. And we are the most talented team, in my opinion, in that division. And we should be way above. But the thing is, like you said earlier, we blame this game on the coaching staff more than the players. In my opinion, coaching staff should really understand what to do, what to call. Mike McCarthy's been in this league a long time, but we understand that Kellen Moore is not his guy, but he has to work with him. Okay. Dan Quinn said he'll figure it out. We'll see if we figure it out. But we still having these issues, and we're already in the second half of the season while these other teams don't have these issues for what we know. And they build up momentum while we're going to end up losing momentum. So for me, is if we lose this Minnesota game, I'm not liking the outcome moving forward. I'm really not.
But what if we win, though? That's where I want to know. Like, if we win this game, beating an 8-1 team, do you feel like, no, we're back in it, we can really do this? Or do you feel like kind of expected it coming off of a loss. I thought we'd play better and pick up this win. Does it change how you feel or not if we win this game? I know how you obviously losing will be different, but winning.
It depends how we win. It depends how we win, what we do. Of course, I'll feel great about it. But again, that Giant game, we beat Minnesota. Depending how we beat Minnesota, if we go out there and beat Minnesota, then I'm gonna feel great about coming about the Giant. But if it's a kind of win where we get locked out. Oh my God! But we win. It might not change a little bit till we beat the Giants.
Got Hoodie Nicks in the house. Hoodie Nicks, how you feel about that?
It don't matter. To be honest with you, it don't matter. Go win the game. It's fine. Honestly, this team is cooked. Just cooked, man. We're halfway through the season. We haven't stopped the run all year. For just being honest, we haven't stopped the run all year. We came out outside of the bye and got cooked again after giving up the most yards before the bye, and said nah to a team that doesn't, as you said earlier, all right. They don't run the ball. That's been their problem. We talked about it last week. Hey, they talk about we run the ball well. We don't run the ball. Blah 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 blah. And they were down 14 in the fourth quarter, ran the ball, and said, hey, fuck y'all, and won the game. This team is cooked. It's just cooked. Go back to San Francisco in the playoffs. Cooked. Personnel, scheme, whatever. It don't matter. We're signing Tech, McKinley, all these different things. We got Hankins and all that. Go get Sue. It won't matter. It won't matter. Go sign Sue. It won't matter. This team's just cooked, man. It's just cooked. You know why? Because they had a chance to walk through the door and be that team. This was their prove-it moment. On a 3-6, I get it. 3-6, 5 straight loss Green Bay team. You walk through the door and say, no, we're here. And they fumbled the bag. Guess what that sounds like to me? Every fucking year for the last decade. When it's time to walk through the door, you just don't do it. The names have all changed. Quarterbacks, coordinators, head coaches, personnel. It's all changed. It's all changed. I mean, maybe not Stephen Jones, but it's all changed. And it's the same shit. So that's going to change now? No, man, we could look. Man, wrap this shit up. We're cooked. Who thinks we're going to a championship game this year? Honestly. And you know what the sad part about it is? It's the most open the NFC has been in fucking years. And you knew this at the trade deadline. Didn't get shit done. Didn't. And here we are. Bruh, I don't look, we'll do the content. I'm gonna enjoy the ride. I want us to see walk through the other side, and I'm gonna be out here. There's the wish and the hope factor. Shout out to the Kings of Comedy. We are now after the Green Bay game. We hope. We were wishing for the tries, and we got tried, and closed the door. It didn't matter, man. I'm sorry. We've done this for a long time. Y'all tell me, y'all think it's different now? After this shit, y'all think it's different? 39-year-old old man Rodgers throwing the ball 20 damn times. Offense can't figure out. Look, and I saw this shit earlier in the chat. No disrespect to the chat. The option routes are the problem. They're not running option routes no more. Your wide receivers don't want to run the right route. It's different. The option routes got canned week 1. This ain't option routes no more. Business decisions. Your cornerbacks ain't diving down. Business decisions.
You said business decision. Watch the end of the Vikings game and what Justin Jefferson does when the ball's in the air. He sells out. I will put my body, whatever I got to do. That ball's mine. I own that football. Watch any of the Cowboys receivers. Any of them.
Anybody in the chat thinks differently? If anybody in the chat thinks differently, this team ain't cooked, let me know. I think this team is cooked. I think, look, and I said this is the most pivotal game, and I do think it is for their season this year and what they got to go do to get to the playoffs and everything else. The Green Bay game showed me they're cooked. If you can't win that game, with the best defense. We've all said this, right? We've said this. The best defense we've had since what, 07? And that's what the fuck you got? Man, come on, man. This team's cooked. And they've been giving up this shit all year. It just came to a head. Man, it's a long season. Knicks, chill out. It's fine. No, we've been giving it up all year. We have been. We've been giving up from the playoffs last year. What are we talking about? It ain't changed. So, yeah, man. Look, I'm here for the ride. I'm ready to have some wins and talk with y'all and have a good time and everything else. Man, I don't even care. Man, I think this team is cooked. Personnel and scheme both matter. I think there's issues. You don't have adequate NFL depth at wide receiver. Spoonie just came out and said Callaway's our number 3 wide receiver right now. Let that sink in. Let it sink in. We signed Ted McKinley. For what? We got guys we can't even get active that we just drafted last year in the 3rd round. But Ted McKinley's here now? I mean, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? I'm sorry. Hey, look. Hey, look. And I saw the little shit that you posted, Spoon. Hey, sure. Shout out to Dan Quinn. Man, I ain't trying to be no head coach, dog. I'm just trying to be a defense coordinator and hang out. I mean, that's cool. That's awfully convenient after the last 2 damn games. I'm sure you give up 500 damn yards rushing. So why you talk about head coach shit right now? I don't even care. I'm frustrated, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very frustrated because what we saw with a backup quarterback and how they rallied and how they played and the things that they did gave you an opportunity to think about things that are happening. And here was the moment with everything coming to a crescendo. Man, I don't even care to see about Green Bay has our number. No, bullshit. They don't have our number. We fumbled the bag. They didn't beat us. We fumbled the bag because we didn't make the 14-14 at the half. We didn't make the right adjustments. 1, defensively. But number 2, you still was up 28-14. 195-0, ladies and gentlemen. 1960 Cowboys came into this league. 2022, as of last week, 195-0 with a 14-point lead. You're 195-1. Nah, man. It just, look, that told me more so than anything. It gutted me. It's where I'm at. I'm here for the ride. We was on DMV show. Look, if they make it to the championship game, we're doing a live show. I'll eat the hot one chip. I'm ready to one chip challenge or whatever. I'll do that. I'm down for it. I want to be wrong and do that. Man, this team is cooked in my opinion. I don't really care. Look, this is going to be fun. We're going to go through, do the content and have a good time and talk about the ups and downs and everything else though. But this team is cooked. I'm sorry.
So where I'm at with it is I'm not ready to say we're cooked yet, but I'm right there. We have Cowboys. This is exactly how I think most Cowboys fans feel. And I would say until we see otherwise, it's probably going to happen. We probably will go beat the Vikings this week. That's what they do. Then we will lose to the
Just
Giants.
how we went and beat the damn undefeated Saints after we lost and everything. We've been down this road. I'm right there with you. We'll go win this game.
We'll beat the Vikings, and then we'll go lose to the Giants because we won't consistently beat good teams. That's the frustration. We had a chance to put a team down. We didn't do it. Messed around. They beat us. We'll go beat the Vikings, the 8-1 Vikings. We'll all be feeling great next week. We just beat one of the best teams in the league. We're back. Offense is in rhythm. Defense is back at it. And then we'll play the Giants, who will just run the ball on us and lose. I hope that doesn't happen. If we win both games back-to-back, maybe we feel differently. Maybe we say, okay, you consistently did beat 2 good teams in a row. It just doesn't feel like the Cowboys have it in their DNA to do that until they show otherwise. They are who we thought they are. We thought this team has the pieces, probably not a Super Bowl contender. A lot of us I thought we'd go 12-5. I still think we'll go 12-5. Preseason, I didn't think we were Super Bowl contenders. I still don't think we're Super Bowl contenders. Early in the year, I was buying the hype on this defense. Oh, they might be historically great. We might have a defense that it doesn't matter what our offense does. We don't. They're really good. They've really only had one bad performance this year overall. I mean, we've been good against the past game, had running issues. Last game, we were bad against all of it. Nothing worked defensively. I still think we have a good defense. Our offense hasn't consistently scored points. With Dak being back, it's been better, but penalties are always an issue. Turnovers can always be an issue. We're not getting takeaways at the same clip. I just feel right now, if I had to pick, I'd say, yeah, we're going to go beat the Vikings, and then we will lose in a heartbreaking fashion to the Giants or something and be right back in the same positions. We'll rattle off some wins against the Colts and the Jags and Texans and feel like we're right back in it. And then we'll play the Titans and Eagles and win one of the two. And that's what will happen. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd say we're fully cooked. And Steve said I just described cooked, so maybe we are. But I still have that optimism, glass half full type of mentality. But it's definitely trending that it's the same thing as what we've seen before. We'll have another first-round exit, and that's what we're heading towards.
Yeah, so cooked, honey roasted, barbecue chicken. That's where we're at, man. I don't even care. Look. Go win the game. It's cool. We've seen this story before. Oh, bad L. Maybe should have won the game. And this team, oh, you can't beat this team. Look at what the record is. When we walk in there and beat their ass, and typically on the road while we're talking about it, and then we'll drop some bullshit. Like, I'm just over it, man. I personally, I'm over it. Look, they had an opportunity to show us they were different this year, and they failed on all levels. I'm sorry, they just failed. And I don't know, man. Look, y'all can feel differently. Man, I'm not buying the rainbows, sunshine and rainbows. I'm just not doing it. And I'm usually a half glass full guy. I usually am. This game hit differently. It wasn't about Aaron Rodgers because it was Aaron Jones that really whooped our ass, not Aaron Rodgers. But I just look at it from an NFL standpoint. We don't have adequate NFL depth at wide receiver. We don't have adequate NFL depth at cornerback now with what's going on because these draft picks have failed us and what's happening with Jordan Lewis injuries. And guess what? The scheme against the run isn't good enough. The scheme against the run ain't good enough, Spoon.
No, it's not. But it's the same thing that we have been going through for the past couple of years. It hasn't been solved. So, I mean, what's the thing? Anything differently? Like as that professor said, we go out there, beat Minnesota, then we'll go out there and lose to the Giants on Thanksgiving. You know, that's what we are. At the end of the day, when it boils down to it, we got to turn to that team to bury other teams, to go, take care of business. And at the end of the day, yeah, we could go ahead and beat Minnesota and feel good about it, but I was still worried about this team come Thursday because, again, the things that we're going through now should have been addressed in the offseason, not as we're going along. It's like jobs. It's like on the job training all over for a whole season. No identity, no that, no nothing. And, and I feel bad for people who don't recognize that, and I'm blaming guys like Mike McCarthy and things. At the end of the day, he's a coach. But it's like I always say, a head coach can never turn garbage into jewelry. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. And not everybody can do that. He has to work with what he has. At the same time, going back to that for him to go for it, he understands the guys that got in that secondary, aside from Diggs, aren't good enough for me to go to play safe and kick a field goal because I'm afraid they're going to get cooked. And that's what it could have happened. I mean, it happened before that scenario of him going for it, but that's the problem. We have a guy in the rookie Christian Watson out of North Dakota come in there and had an NFL career on this top defense.
Man, he had a Randy Moss Thanksgiving Day game against us. Let's be honest.
4th and 7. You know how embarrassing that is? 4th and 7, touchdown. You know how embarrassing it is? 4th and 4, we're going to run the ball at you. Teams don't do that mostly. Nah, we're going to punt. We respect the defense. They came out and said, your defense is shit.
I mean, the 4th and 7 or whatever, like, you shouldn't give up a 4th and 7 in general, much less let them score on it. Like,
yeah.
So let me ask you this, though. So I know kind of where we're all feeling as a fan base. That if we win, great, but this win doesn't fix things or make us significantly more optimistic. Hypothetically, we beat the Vikings, we beat the Giants, we signed Odell. How do you feel then? Does that change things, or do you still feel like we're cooked? Because I still don't think that would change my opinion.
I'm going to say this right now.
Still?
You know what?
Okay. I mean, at least we know where we're at.
I don't think we're getting OBJ.
But if we do, hypothetically, we get him. Let's say we get him and win the next 2 games.
We're still cooked.
Still cooked?
We're still cooked.
I'm half. I'll be a little half. We'll see what happens. But that, yeah.
Chat, how do you guys feel about it?
Spoonie,
You win the
run the
next
story
two
report
and get
down.
Odell.
Joking.
Do your season outlook change or not?
What's that?
I was asking the chat.
Yo, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. El, tell him again. I stepped on your toes. My fault.
No, my bad. I was just asking the chat. Hypothetically, we win the next two. We beat the Vikings, beat the 8-1 Vikings, the 7-2 Giants, and sign Odell. Heading into the final stretch of the year, do you feel better, or do you kind of still feel the same? Does that gut still tell you it's probably going to be the same result, or do you think, nah, we're legit, we could actually win?
I feel better. I would feel better.
I mean, you had to feel better.
Yeah,
You have to feel better. You have to feel
better.
That's like, okay.
Spoonie, I'll tell you what. We can double or nothing on the wings. You owe me a wing bet.
Okay.
Right?
yeah, that's where I'm at, Steve.
Right.
You owe me a wing bet, right?
Right.
Okay. I'll give you an out here. Double or nothing. You ready?
What's that?
If the Cowboys go 2-0, you owe me nothing. If they lose one of the next two games, you got to double up.
Oh hell no! I want to lose. I would want to lose. I'll give you the wings.
No. I said no. You owe me wings. If they go 2-0, you don't have to give me wings.
Oh,
if they lose one of the next two games, you got to give me double wings.
I don't feel good about that, BJ.
Spoonie, quit betting with Knicks. Don't bet Knicks.
I'm always losing to you. I don't want to bet. No, I want the Cowboys.
No. I'm giving you
I'm always losing.
Beat Minnesota, beat the Giants. Hey, real quick.
I'm sorry.
When the last time the Cowboys beat an 8-1 and a 7-2 team back-to-back weeks?
It's a hard task. Very hard task. I want them. My fandom and me wants them to win, but I do know if I bet you, the chances are very low. Says no. I can't bet you.
I'm trying to get you about these wings. I'm trying to let you not have to get those wings.
No, see, he's pulling that lottery trick on you. You see all these big numbers and hearing that little jingle. Today could be the day. It's not your day. Don't bet him.
I'm not falling for this.
Don't bet Knicks. He's trapping you.
No, I mean the Cowboys gonna beat the Giants, guys. Can they beat Minnesota though, Spoonie?
I want them to.
Well, I mean,
I feel better about the Vikings game than the Giants game.
If they can beat Minnesota, Spoonie, this is an easy bet
rest
for you. It's an easy bet for you.
Nah, it'll be tough. It's gonna be tough. Minnesota's gonna be tough. Listen. I can't bet you.
All right, Spoon. I ain't gonna need you no more. I don't care. I'm in a hoodie next month the rest of the way. Man, the 2 wins and Odell, sure. I mean, sunshine and rainbows. Look, it can't rain forever. What movie was that? The Crow. What did he say? It don't rain all the time. It don't rain forever, right? Sooner or later, a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? Cowboys Nation. Eventually, we should be able to be happy. I'm telling you right now, this ain't it though.
Right.
It's not it. That Green Bay game ain't it. I'm just like, man, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see. But hey, Minnesota game. Keys to the game, right? You think they're going to pass the ball? They're going to stick to their guns. They're going to pass it more, huh?
I do. I just think that's their DNA. I think that's what Kevin O'Connell knows.
Right.
That's what he wants to do. That's what they've done well. And I think he's going to say, I know what's worked against the Cowboys. However, we've won 8 of our 9 games doing this, so I'm going to stick to what I do. That's what I would probably do if I was a young offensive-minded head coach. I would say, I know that works for other teams, but we're not other teams. We're the Vikings. We've won 8 of our 9 doing this, so let's stick to that. And we have weapons, and I want to get them the ball. That's what I think they're going to do. So if they do that, that definitely bodes well for us. If Christian Darrisaw is out, that is a huge swing in our favor because now you have Tank, Sam, Dorrance, Micah, whoever going against a backup left tackle. Kind of matters when your quarterback's blind side is protected by I don't know who the backup tackle is.
Do you think him being out might push him to run the ball more, or
it could, but also having him out may have an impact on their ability to run the ball too. There's other components to that. So I think that's really going to be what this game comes down to is, do the Vikings break from what they know and try the game plan that they don't usually do against us or not? Because if they don't, we will win this game.
And the interesting point to that is the Packers have lost 5 straight, and switched up what they did to get it up.
Yep.
On the flip side here with the Vikings, they have won 8 games, and in particularly, was it 7 straight now? 6 straight? 6, 7 straight? And in their own realm of how they like to do things. So when you are winning in those ways for a long stretch of time, you don't typically change it up because of how the NFL works and what you believe in. So, Spoon, as we're heading to this game, the run game, whatever, we kind of understand that. Do you think the Vikings are going to change up what they've been doing, or are they going to stick to their guns and be who they are?
I think they will try their way first. If we're doing the right thing to slow them down, then I can see them, maybe try to adjust and go to the run. But now, if this is true with Justin Jefferson's toe, then how bad does it affect him during practice this week? Then I could really see them go with the run more, just to protect Jefferson and just limit him a little bit.
10-4. Okay, well, prediction time, score-wise. Cowboys, Vikings. Who's winning? Who's losing? What's your score?
Well, like I said, I think that they are going to continue their game plan that's worked pretty well for them, but they haven't played defenses that do what we do well against the pass consistently. So I think the Cowboys will bounce back. We don't usually lose 2 games in a row. Like I mentioned, we're 6-1 going back to last year, coming off of a loss. I think defense was embarrassed. I think the Vikings will play into what works for us, which is advantageous. If Darshaw's out, I think that definitely helps us too. I think the Cowboys will win this week. Next week, I don't know. Coming off a short rest against a tough team that will run the ball on us, because they will do what works well against our defense. I don't think the Vikings will, which would be dumb, but that's just what I think. So I'm going to say the Cowboys win this week. I think it's going to be a close game. They have explosive playmakers. You're probably looking at 31-27, 31-28. We'll go 31-27. They'll kick a few field goals, 31-27.
Dyson, yes, AB had a concussion. He practiced today. He will be back. Spoony, Cowboys, Vikings. What's the score? Who's winning?
I have the Cowboys 27-24. 27-24. I believe the offense would definitely have a better game. I think this is going to be a CeeDee Lamb versus Justin Jefferson show. I could definitely see Anthony Barr make some key plays against his former team this week, and I think Michael Parsons is definitely gonna wreak some havoc on that line. I think he'll be more on that line this week than last week.
10-4. They're rolling. They're hot. Kirk Cousins with the ice. It's not in prime time. 27-20 Vikings. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Cooked. 27-20 Vikings. Show me differently. That's where I'm at. I'm sorry. I want to be wrong.
You've influenced people, Knicks. Hoodie Knicks has influenced the nation. Your soliloquy.
Look, they hot.
They
hot.
To say 31-17.
Yeah, they're hot. They just went up there and beat Buffalo. Like, man, they lost 1 game. We just lost to a 3-6 team that lost 5 straight and got beat by Detroit the week before. Man, I ain't trying to hear shit. Show me that you're different. Because you had an opportunity last week to show me that you're different. And you showed me they're the same old Cowboys. It's the same thing. The Stephen Jones era has showed me whenever the Cowboys have an opportunity to walk through that door and be a different team, they can't do it. Ultimately. Now, O is right, though. And I know this. I'm with him. We'll lose a game, like lose to San Diego. They were the San Diego Chargers then. And then go beat the undefeated with the broken neck. DeMarcus Ware even. And go beat the undefeated Saints in New Orleans. They do these things. They'll lose to a team they shouldn't, and then they'll beat a team they shouldn't. I get it. But I don't care. I'm good. 27-20 Vikings. That's where I'm at, man. Spoony, sermon time, you ready?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Spoon. I'll be very positive during this.
Well, Cowboy Nation, I'm gonna be the voice of a lot of people who don't really speak their minds because they're afraid, of saying the wrong things, which Spoonie doesn't care. I speak what I speak. Jerry Jones, a house could look so great on the outside. Bricks, the color, they look very nice. But it's also what counts on the inside of the house. How's the inside of the house look like? It can look like shit. If the inside of the house look like shit, it's a shitty house. Doesn't matter what the outside looks like. They all have to be right. So what do I mean by that? Well, Jerry, you've been endorsing OBJ. I've been endorsing OBJ 2 years ago. BJ Nix has been endorsing OBJ, Professor O, Miss Mary, who's not here today, J Tug, Cowboy Nation. We all been endorsing OBJ. But here's the thing, Jerry. Everybody knows when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, the star, the uniforms, the stadium, the star, the practice facility, it's all beautiful, nice. It's great. But here's the problem, Jerry. Inside the Dallas Cowboys right now is shitty. It's messy. It's dirty. Why? Because you and your son Steven has messed it up. So again, why will OBJ choose to come to the Dallas Cowboys? Does OB at 30 years old, off of 2 ACL, he should be going on to a team being comfortable where I don't got to do so much. No, he's coming on to a team that still hasn't found a fucking way of what to do. No identity, no nothing. Jerry, can OBJ work with Kellen Moore? I think not. I don't think so. This guy's still on the job training. You want him to work with a superstar receiver in OBJ, a rock star, somebody who has made an impact in this game? See, Jerry, sometimes when you sell the bullshit, we buy it. I have bought it so many times. I'm a fan. But what makes you think OBJ is going to buy it? Just because you have Dak Prescott, who most Cowboys fans don't appreciate or respect. Just because you have CeeDee Lamb, who most Cowboys fans think he's not number one receiver. Just because you got Dalton Schultz, well, that's another story. Just because we have Michael Parsons, who I'm going to keep this real, it's embarrassing that a man in 2 years of football from college has more heart than 90% of this fucking team, 90% of the front office. He wants to win more than that front office, than your front office, Jerry. So I ask you again, what is so clean inside Dallas Cowboys? I don't care about the outside. We don't care about the outside. When we hit Dallas, it looks good. The star looks great. But the inside is dirty. It's nasty. It's shitty. The Green Bay Packers shown that last week. You come there with the brown Lombardi jackets. Vegas had us all to win. OBJ watched that game. Did you know Jerry Jones, OBJ tweeted the Jefferson catch? He was watching that Minnesota-Buffalo game. Oh, but I know he watched that Cowboys and Green Bay game. And again, Jerry, look at the things we talked about today. Guys not running their full routes. Guys don't want to tackle. Guys don't understand what's going on because of the coaches. So again, I ask you, Jerry Jones, why will 30-year-old OBJ superstar come to Dallas and want to participate because you're going to sell him that we're ready for this championship run? See, here's the thing, Jerry Jones. This team was supposed to be built to be a championship team, and then we add Jerry Jones. Add OBJ. Not add OBJ because we feel with him to become one. See, you fucked it up, Jerry, and your sons have made the thing for that. See, right now we're scrambling. We're trying to find the right guys, fit them in the right scheme, try to change this, change that, etc. Jerry Jones, but you messed up. You have messed up, and you asked why. So I'm gonna give you this, Jerry Jones. Stop selling us the crap of how bad you want OBJ, and start selling us how bad you want this franchise to continue where we left off in the 90s. Jerry Jones, you have a dirty house. There's no maid who can come in there and clean it. I'm not going to clean. Professor's not going to clean. Nick's is not going to clean. Mendoza's not going to clean. Steve's not going to clean. Gregory's not going to clean. You have to clean. You know, Jerry, when we was born.
Your house in order, Jerry.
Our parents, when we shit it, our parents wiped our ass. It's time to wipe your son's ass because he had shit all over that office and all his decision making. And right now he's scrambling to make it right. So again, no more OBJ talk. We don't deserve him. And I don't think he wants to be here because of you.
Well, I think simply it's this. The Cowboys have to win their next 3 games to get OBJ.
You want OBJ, if you want him.
If they want to be able to land him. For sure the next 2. For sure the next 2.
Yeah.
I think 3 can probably seal the deal. But after the Green Bay loss and where they currently sit and what's happening, they have to win the next 2. I feel like 3 might seal the deal. As we talked about the timeline where he wants to sign, when he's going to be physically able, so on and so forth. Neither here nor there. But for sure, if they drop, forget the 3rd game, whether that matters or not. If they don't beat Minnesota and the Giants, I think the Cowboys are on OBJ.
No, I agree. I have a suspicion he's going, if whatever happens this week will matter, but the Cowboys-Giants game, he's going to sign with one of those 2 teams, in my opinion, right after that game. Like, I think Black Friday weekend, he's going, because he wants to be signed as soon as possible.
Right.
He wants to narrow down his teams as soon as possible. And there's already some word of certain teams that are kind of being eliminated based on his preferences of where he wants to play field condition-wise, weather-wise, and things like that. I do believe the report that the Cowboys and Giants are his top 2 choices. And I mean, if we lose to the Vikings and beat the Giants, I still think we have a chance. But if we lose to the Giants, I think he'll just sign with the Giants.
But you know what's silly, y'all? You know what's very silly that I caught? And, you know, I was one of them. You know, we were all excited about the OBJ situation and everything. But you know what's funny? How you have the Cowboys players, the star players on the offensive side, and Michael Parsons, of course, in defense, come out and say how bad they on OBJ. Then we're losing. So they made those laws. Meanwhile, the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley goes out and says, I don't need a tweet. He already knows. And mind you, OBJ has been to the office a couple of times this year, talking with GM Strong from Buffalo. So again, it looks bad how we want this guy, but we look like crap. But meanwhile, the Giants, who are not as talented as us, but they're getting the job done. And that's what he's looking at.
Keep in mind, though, he went to visit his guy, Sterling Shepard, who just had another knee injury on that Giants playing field. Saquon Barkley has been injured playing on that Giants playing field and came out this year saying he's not a fan of the team's playing field surfaces. And the NFL Players Association is pushing for an immediate ban of the said playing surface that the Giants have, obviously the Jets have, the Vikings have, and several other teams. So I think there's 7 teams total that have it. I think that does play into it, but if the Cowboys aren't winning, that angle doesn't matter. I do think nostalgia-wise, he would like to play for them. But keep in mind, you got to make the right decision for yourself. It would be great to go back and win one like a la LeBron, you know, going back to the Cavs type of thing or whatever. But if they're not winning, and they can't beat the Cowboys, we're all saying we think the Cowboys are cooked. If the Giants get swept by the Cowboys, why the hell would you sign with them if you're Odell?
It's true. That's true. Very true. No, very true.
But also, if the Cowboys win one and lose one, and the Giants can't, let's say that we lose to the Vikings but beat the Giants, and that he could say the same thing, then maybe he does sign with the 49ers or some outside team. I don't know. I'm kind of over the Odell talk, but I do think if he signs, it's shortly after Thanksgiving because he wants to be on a roster and get ramped up and have 4 or 5 games before the playoffs.
Look, and to be honest, I don't know what he brings. Like, I think we need to be honest about that. Like, physically, and and we have a bird's eye view right now with Gallup. We don't know exactly what Odell you're going to get when you sign him. Like, you just don't know. So right now, look, eventually, sure, he'll be a decent wide receiver. Let's be clear. But overall, you don't know what he's going to be walking through that door and when he's able to show up and play and do the right thing. Like you just don't know, and that's the biggest issue. I think outside looking in, if you land Odell, forget the Cowboys, any team that lands Odell, there's a lot of hubbub, there's a lot of pop. Is he going to help you the last week of November, first week of December? I don't know that. It might be a little bit later than that. So neither here nor there, but we'll keep tabs. We'll see what it is. Guys, great show. You know, Minnesota on deck. Shout out once again, Space. If we win this one, we'll beat the Giants. That's what 16 through now. If we lose this one, that means we're going to lose to the Giants. That's what 16-21 taught us, anyways. So the Cowboys are going to be either 8-3 or 6-5. Tragic on that particular standpoint.
Now we're winning.
I like it. I like it. Oh, I want to believe.
I'm not going to take this toxicity. No, I buy it. I get it.
I don't have the hoodie on no more. I want to believe. Yeah. The hood's not on no more. I want to believe. I do. But man, I'm just logic at times. And look, and obviously the articles that you write, the very analytical stuff. But we have a very long stretch with Dan Quinn. I don't care of Dan Quinn and this team against the run. Scary hours, if you will.
Well, that's the problem too. I mean, you're looking at it as even if we win this game and win the next game, which I think we can win both games. I think you guys probably would agree. We could win either game. We'll talk about the Giants for their week.
Right.
I still don't think this is a Super Bowl team, and that's what it all comes down to.
Can it be a championship team, though? See, that's where I'm at. Super Bowl would be cool. I just want to find our way back to an NFC championship game.
I think we can. This team has it to get there. And especially how the NFC is right now, there's no dominant in the NFC. There's nobody dominant in the NFC. But the thing
the problem is, it doesn't matter if they're dominant or not, though. If we can't stop the run, which is what teams do in the playoffs, and we're going to most likely be a road team on the playoffs because we're not winning the division as of right now. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. But if you're playing every team on the road to get to the championship game and you can't stop the run, it's hard to make
it. We're cooked.
You know what's funny?
If we go on a winning streak and knock out like 6 or 7, and some of those wins are the Vikings and the Giants and the Eagles, and we beat the Titans and whatever, maybe then it's different because you may have a chance to win the division and have teams play here. But even coming here, we couldn't stop the 49ers at home. So if you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? We didn't sound like this with after the other losses. The other 2 losses. After when Dak went down to the Bucs, it was a little bit more different in tone. But we didn't sound like this. And again, it tells you how bad that Green Bay loss was. Not because it's Green Bay, it's because the way they lost.
But Spoon, that's when my alarm went up. If you go back to that show,
the
way that we lost, I was like, this run defense is a problem. That's when I started pounding the table right then and there.
Yeah.
Like, I was worried about it as we had our shows and everything. I was worried about it. But how we lost that game, I'm like, no, this is a problem. And there's certain people that said, they were inboxing me, Knicks, it's cool, you're tripping. When Dak comes, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. If you can't stop the run, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And we've seen it, escalate since then. So, but I'm with you, Spoon, on this, though. As you said, yeah, it was Cooper. So what happens is, as a nation here is, well, yeah, but man, damn it, we were damn it, Cooper Rush got us went 4-1. Yeah, we lost to them. They ran it down us. We made it, but we made it a game, though. That's what it turned into. But damn it, we made it a game. We just couldn't close the deal. But Dak's coming back, and it is what it is. That's what happened.
Yeah, it's different week one when you lose because you don't know what your team is at that point, and we lost our quarterback. That's a loss to everybody. You're frustrated, and you feel like the season's going down the drain because you lose QB1. The Eagles' loss was different because it was spread out over multiple weeks. We were in better position. We didn't feel as bad about the team even if we lost the game. We all probably realized there's a pretty good chance Cooper Rush is not going to beat the Eagles. So when you lose that game, you're like, we were playing with house money. If we would have won, great, but we didn't expect them to win anyways. We expected to win this game. We thought we were going to win this game.
No excuse not
we
to win
knew
it.
We have the hammer in our hand. We already got the nail. It's just hovering. We're just about to count it in, and it's done. We got all of our players healthy for the most part. They got their entire team hurt. They lost a lot of key players. Like, this isn't done. That was a formality. That was a formality game that we blew.
Oh, and we got it to 28-14, and then
that game was a formality. We just knew. All of us knew. I know it's Aaron Rodgers, but everything's going against them. They can't win games. They can't beat bad teams. They're hurt. We're gonna win, and we still lost. So yeah, that game absolutely feels different than the other losses.
It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be funny too that Green Bay loses to the Titans on Thursday, and what's gonna happen is that now you're gonna have people come out and compare. Well, but look what Tennessee did.
Okay, I'm picking the Titans in our picking league. I don't care. Fuck Green Bay. I'm picking the Titans.
Oh yeah, I picked the Titans already. I picked the Titans to win. Like Professor O is the winner of our NFL Weekly. He won. Matter of fact, you didn't even need Monday's game. You won. You didn't even need Monday's night's game.
Catch up to Dom too. Dom had a big lead in every chipping away. I'm only 2 games back now.
Here's my thing.
I'm jumping in first place this week.
Here's my thing though. I didn't get to pick week 1. I'm only like 10 games back though.
Yeah, you're solid. You're very
my win
solid.
percentage is very nice, but damn it, I didn't get week 1.
Yeah,
but I watch you all. You have tracked down because Bluff was kind of there, but yeah, you were hawking our guy.
I've had 3 great weeks in a row.
Yeah, you were hawking. Yeah, you were definitely hawking the Deacon right now for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
It was always the Deacon and Bluff City right there. All of a sudden, you saw Professor go whoop, right there. It's like, hey guys, you want some company? So
I had 1 week that was disastrous where I picked like 8
you picked to be road
teams
teams.
or something like
That's
that.
what you did. Yeah, you picked to be
never
road
again
because you said
never
that,
again.
Yeah.
I'm not making that mistake again. So now I'm picking.
Which is funny because look, I'm just happy that I've surpassed people that have played since week 1, and I'm ahead of them. I'm churning.
You're way ahead of some of the people.
I'm slow grinding. I'm gonna slow grind me. I tell you what, I bet you money. I feel confident here. I'm gonna finish to the top 4. I might not get all the way to 3.
I think you will.
I think I'll finish to the top 4. I'm gonna hog down to the top 4. But I'm definitely the Bluff Deacon conundrum. I'm supremely intrigued in watching the dichotomy here, what's happening with them there at the very top. That is super fun. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Man, with that being said, Cowboys Nation, man, we've been working out here for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I'm sorry if I'm too pessimistic for y'all. I'm sorry, but Green Bay game hit different for me. I'm still 10 toes down on this season trying to get there. And again, it's not about the Super Bowl. It's about just getting to a championship game. I just don't think the Cowboys are going to do it. After Green Bay, we're cooked. That's how I'm at. But things can change. They can show me. I'm from the look. Just show me. The next we have 3 games in. How many days again, guys? 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming outside of that, and how this thing looks, it can change the outlook and whatnot. But realistically, there's no more credit here for what's happened this season. They burnt all that credit up. They burnt all that credit up during the rush time and injury in the Green Bay game for me. Canceled. So they got to show me the next 3 games for me to come back in and be a believer about this season.
Let me just drop a quick little stat for you guys on the way out. we could talk more about this on Friday.
Sure.
But Kellen Moore in the passing attack are in their bag when teams play what coverage against us, Knicks? Man, right? We
man,
crushed
yeah,
coverage.
man. I'm sorry, yeah, man.
This season, the Vikings have been in zone coverage 82.5% of their passing plays. They've been in
Now you
cover
just
4.
counterbalance
They've been in
all-
cover 6 or quarters though.
Stop.
47% of the time.
You
Dak
just
is
counterbalance.
21 of 29 against that. But that doesn't bode well for us.
But you just counterbalance all the they don't
just-
run the ball shit on the other side, and then came back
They play
with
the defense that we can't beat. Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there.
27
Still gonna
20
beat
Minnesota,
them, I don't
like I
care.
said, damn it.
Don't care. 31-27. Doesn't change anything. I do want to throw that out there because it's the people
It's
need to
relevant.
know. That's important.
No,
So
it's relevant for sure. With that being
don't start
said-
Dak in fantasy this week. That's where I'm going with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got which is fantastic for me. I have Dak and I have Mahomes. I'm fantastic.
The
I'm
Mahomes
I'm
week.
Gucci over here. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hit the sub. If you are subs, man, shoot it out there. Let the people know. Get people into this gang and do that. We have midday shows that are happening with our guy Stevie J, our guy Mass, and of course Miss Camber. And follow everybody on Twitter. If y'all see that right here, right there, boom, we content on Twitter and things go down on that side. Go over there and follow us right there on Twitter as well. And of course, Friday, we'll be back here with the Freestyle Friday show where y'all we take what we do in the Twitter spaces, we bring it over here, come up, join us, have a good time. We got some guests lined up. Pause. We'll tuck that for later. We got a pretty good guy coming up here pretty soon. But if y'all missed last week's Freestyle Friday show, shout out to our girl, man. She had a solid bit on the show, right?
She did. Yeah.
Boom. So yeah.
Taylor Mathis.
No, I was looking at Spoon. I was going to say Taylor Mathis from the FTN network as well. Go follow her as well. Spoon, last word for you. You got a whole lot going on.
Listen, at the end of the day, I know that this wasn't probably the most joyous moments of us talking Cowboys as far as getting ready for this game coming up. But I'll say this, but true fans, we got to turn this around. Let's dominate, celebrate, and hopefully next week we have something great to talk about.
10-4. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. I'll let y'all Friday. Spoony, feel better. Peace, Cowboys Nation.